Chapter 1491. At this moment, Yin Feng let out a hollow laugh and said, I don't think there's a need to go to the Feng clan. I've already brought my men there. But I found out that the Feng clan had been massacred. After saying this, Yin Feng's icy gaze glanced at Lu Ming. Lu Ming, you're so ruthless and decisive, leaving no evidence behind. The meaning behind his words was clear. Yin Feng was referring to the fact that Lu Ming had massacred the Feng clan. The Feng clan had been massacred. Lu Ming glanced at Yin Feng, his eyes flickering coldly. Needless to say, the Feng clan had been massacred by Yin Feng, as he was afraid that Lu Ming would ask the Feng clan to testify against Lu Ming's words. Such a ruthless move. To deal with Lu Ming, he had massacred the Feng clan, and now he was accusing Lu Ming of massacring the Feng clan. A cold grin appeared on Yin Feng's face as he glanced at Lu Ming with a mocking gaze. Let's see how you're going to prove yourself. Yin Feng laughed coldly in his heart. Yin Feng, you've really put in a lot of effort to deal with me, massacring the Feng clan, destroying the evidence and framing me. I know you hate me. Previously, I stepped on your face 9 times in front of everyone. In the Tsangdi secret ground, you were beaten to the point where you were forced to kneel in front of me. It's understandable that you're trying to take revenge on me. Lu Ming let out a faint smile, casually pushing the blame to Yin Feng, saying that Yin Feng had framed him in order to take revenge on him. Bullshit. Yin Feng's face turned dark. Bullshit, many people saw it. How am I bullshitting? If you're so capable, kill them all. Lu Ming let out a faint smile. The elder of the Dragon Punishing Palace frowned his eyebrows. Both Lu Ming and Yin Feng had their own reasons. He did not know who to listen to. Elder, Yin Feng hired a fellow disciple to tamper with the mission, intending to have Su Long, Duan Yen, and the others kill me during the mission. After that, he massacred the entire Feng family and framed me. This person is insane. He must be punished severely. Lu Ming cupped his fists at the Dragon Punishing Palace's elder, putting Yin Feng in a checkmate. You're talking nonsense. You're slandering me. Yin Feng roared. Slander? If you want to know the truth, it's very simple. As long as I take you down and search your soul, the truth will naturally come to light, Lu Ming said as he strode towards Yin Feng. What do you want? You want to kill me to silence me? Yin Feng shouted. Stop. A figure stepped forward and stood in front of Lu Ming. It was the 7th layer Martial Dominator Realm young man from the Dragon Punishing Palace. Your opponent is me. Xuan Ningxin appeared and threw a punch at the young man of the Dragon Punishing Palace. The young man from the Dragon Punishment Palace had no choice but to fight Xuan Ningxin. On the other hand, Lu Ming continued to move toward Yin Feng. Attack, attack, kill this man. Yin Feng yelled. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The young men who had followed Yin Feng here lunged at Lu Ming. Piss off. Lu Ming let out a roar as the black feather wings appeared. With a flap, 5 young men were sent flying while vomiting mouthfuls of blood. In the air, the elder of the Dragon Punishing Palace raised his eyebrows. He was about to intervene when a voice entered his ears, causing his figure to come to a stop. Bang! Lu Ming cast the wind essence skill. With a step, his speed increased tremendously as he dashed toward Yin Feng. Go back! Kill! At least 10 young men dashed toward Lu Ming. Some of them were peak 5th layer Martial Dominator Realm experts. Buzz! The 3rd grade chaotic domain was unleashed, encapsulating the young men within it. The young men instantly felt a terrifying pressure crushing their bodies, as if their bones were about to break. Those with weaker cultivations fell to the ground and vomited mouthfuls of blood. Following this, Lu Ming lashed out a punch with a terrifying force, sending a few peak Martial Dominator Realm experts flying. Many among the crowd inhaled deeply. Lu Ming was only a 2nd layer Martial Dominator Realm expert, but even a peak 5th layer Martial Dominator Realm expert was no match for Lu Ming, and was sent flying by Lu Ming's attack. Lu Ming's figure approached Yin Feng at lightning speed. Yin Feng's face turned pale as he frantically backed off. He had not expected Lu Ming to be so daring as to try to search his soul. If he were to search his soul, the truth would be revealed. There was no way he would let Lu Ming capture him. However, Lu Ming's speed was too fast. The young men who had followed him had no chance of stopping Lu Ming. "Son of a bitch, don't you dare!" At this moment, a furious bellow could be heard from the depths of the sky. The voice was like that of a deity. Then, a big hand reached down from the clouds and grabbed Lu Ming. The terrifying pressure froze Lu Ming in place, rendering Lu Ming immobile. "Valley Master Yinlong!" Lu Ming yelled furiously. Lu Ming could tell that the person who had attacked him was Valley Master Yinlong. A dignified Valley Master actually attacked Lu Ming, a junior. "Yin Zheng, you're getting worse and worse. How dare you attack my disciple in front of the Cloud Dragon Valley? Do you think I'm invisible?" A gentle voice could be heard from the depths of the Cloud Dragon Valley. Following that, a sword ray shot out explosively and slashed down at the enormous hand. The enormous hand was directly cleaved into two and then burst apart. "Yun Ruoxu!" A thunderous voice could be heard from high up in the sky. Following this, a silver light flashed and an old man appeared. It was Valley Master Yinlong. When Valley Master Yinlong appeared, he looked into the depths of the Cloud Dragon Valley. In the Cloud Dragon Valley, an old man stepped on the clouds. It was Valley Master Yinlong. "Ming, do what you have to do." When Valley Master Yinlong appeared, his voice could be heard. His intention was clear. He wanted Lu Ming to continue taking down Yin Feng. "Junior, how dare you?" Valley Master Yinlong looked coldly at Lu Ming. "I'm so scared." Lu Ming pursed his lips and flapped his black wings. With a gust of wind, he charged towards Yin Feng. "Grandfather, save me!" Yin Feng screamed. "How dare you!" Valley Master Yinlong roared, and a terrifying dragon roar could be heard from his body. A silver-white light shot up into the sky, and his aura was terrifying. "Yin Zheng, if you want to fight, I'll accompany you." Valley Master Yinlong took a step forward and suddenly appeared in front of Valley Master Yinlong. He slashed his sword at Valley Master Yinlong. The slash was simple, but Valley Master Yinlong's expression changed. Silver light exploded, and he fought Valley Master Yinlong. Boom! When the two of them clashed, the entire sky seemed to be split apart by the sword light and silver light. The vast aura made everyone breathless. Is this the strength of the Valley Master? He's so strong. Many people were shocked. "Let's fight." Valley Master Yinlong's voice could be heard as he charged into the void with Valley Master Yinlong. As for Lu Ming, he continued to charge towards Yin Feng. The few youths who were protecting Yin Feng were sent flying. No matter how fast Yin Feng retreated, his speed was much slower than Lu Ming's. Shua! Lu Ming appeared in front of Yin Feng, and his chaotic domain crushed down on him. Yin Feng spat out a mouthful of blood. Chapter 1492. At this time, the great battle in the sky attracted almost everyone's attention. After Lu Ming took down Yin Feng, he looked at the sky. The battle in the sky was intense and had reached its climax. A ball of silver light and a ray of sword light clashed. The roar of a dragon pierced through the sky. Suddenly, the sword light shone brightly and the silver light was extinguished. Then a figure retreated and appeared in the sky above the crowd. It was Valley Master Yinlong. There was a deep sword wound on Valley Master Yinlong's chest. The wound went straight to his heart, and one could see his heart beating. Valley Master Yinlong's body shone with silver light. His muscles twitched as he tried to heal the wound. However, there were countless tiny rays of sword chi on the wound that were destroying his muscles. It was difficult for him to heal immediately. Uft! Valley Master Yinlong's face turned pale, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Everyone at the scene couldn't help but widen their eyes and suck in a cold breath. Valley Master Yinlong had been defeated and injured by Valley Master Yinlong. If the sword had been a little deeper, it would have pierced Valley Master Yinlong's heart. More importantly, Valley Master Yinlong had been defeated in such a short time. Clearly, there was a huge difference between his combat strength and Valley Master Yinlong's. Valley Master Yinlong stepped down from the sky, and his sword Qi soared into the sky. He exuded a terrifying aura and said in a dignified voice, "Do you think I'm easy to deal with when you barged into Cloud Dragon Valley? Yinzheng, I'll let you live this time. If there's a next time, I'll kill you." Valley Master Yinlong's face turned ugly. He looked at Valley Master Yinlong with fear and disbelief. The others couldn't help but swallow their saliva. Valley Master Yinlong had always given people the impression that he was gentle. No one had expected him to be so powerful. He was so domineering and said that he would kill Valley Master Yinlong if there was a next time. Valley Master Yinlong was a Valley Master. More importantly, Valley Master Yinlong did not dare to refute him. Everyone had to reevaluate Cloud Dragon Valley. The Cloud Dragon Valley was a newly established Dragon Valley in the Divine Dragon Valley. It had the fewest members and was considered the weakest. But was that true? Other things aside, the Cloud Dragon Valley Master was unfathomable. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master continued, "If my disciple is innocent, no one will be able to frame him. Today, I will personally search his soul to see the truth." With that, the Valley Master of Cloud Dragon Valley took a step forward and appeared beside Lu Ming. "Grandfather!" Yin Feng cried out in shock. "Yin Ruoxu, don't go too far. Enough is enough." Valley Master Silver Dragon said, "Ridiculous." The Cloud Dragon Valley Master's eyes were cold as he said, "Know when to stop? You brought your men and fought your way into my Cloud Dragon Valley. Even you, the Valley Master, want to personally deal with a new disciple like me. Now, you're telling me to stop before going too far?" Valley Master Silver Dragon's face was gloomy and he had nothing to say. The others also shook their heads, secretly. That's right. Previously, it had been Yin Feng who had led his men to force their way into Cloud Dragon Valley. He had insisted that Lu Ming had killed his fellow disciples and wanted to take Lu Ming away. In the end, when they were no match for him, Valley Master Yin Feng had taken the initiative to attack. To put it bluntly, Cloud Dragon Valley was only retaliating. "Soul Search!" The Valley Master of Cloud Dragon Valley yelled, and a ray of light burst forth from his palm. He then reached out and tapped Yin Feng's forehead with his finger. Yin Feng cried out, and his body instantly stiffened as his gaze became unfocused. The Valley Master of Cloud Dragon Valley had personally started the Soul Search. A moment later, the Valley Master of Cloud Space's eyes flickered sharply as he said, "Today, I'll reveal the truth." With that, the Valley Master of Cloud Dragon Valley's other hand glowed and a crystal appeared. Memory Crystal. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. The Memory Crystal was a rare treasure. During the Soul Search, it could project the memories of the person whose soul was being searched into an image so that others could see it. The Memory Crystal glowed, and an image appeared in the sky. In a courtyard, a young man stood with his hands behind his back. It was Yin Feng himself. There were 3 other people who bowed respectfully before Yin Feng. "That's Su Long. That's right. The other 2 are Duan Yen and Fu Xing." Someone blurted out as he recognized the people in the image. At that instant, Yin Feng calmly spoke. "I've already arranged the mission with a few deacons of the Quest Hall. You will follow Lu Ming and find a chance to assassinate Lu Ming in the process of the mission, regardless of the method used." "Yes, don't worry, Master Yin Feng. I'll make sure this Lu Ming dies without anyone knowing. No one will be suspicious as long as we claim that he was killed during the mission." Su Long let out a hollow laugh as his eyes flickered. "Don't worry, a mere first-layer martial dominator realm ant will be killed as easily as crushing an ant. I'm sure we'll succeed." Duan Yen and Fu Xing spoke one after another before discussing the details of the mission. Upon seeing this, the Valley Master of Cloud Dragon Valley wore a dark expression. Meanwhile, the others came to a realization. It seemed like Lu Ming was telling the truth. It was all because Yin Feng wanted to kill Lu Ming. He had arranged for someone to kill him during the mission. Thus, Lu Ming had retaliated and killed Su Long. At this moment, the scene suddenly changed to another scene. This time, it was not about Lu Ming. Yin Feng was planning something else to deal with someone else. Damn it! So my little sister was killed by Yin Feng. To think that I still believed him. A young man among the crowd suddenly yelled with bloodshot eyes. Shut up! The Valley Master of the Silver Dragon Valley glanced at the young man with a cold, murderous intent. The young man's face turned unpleasant as he clenched his teeth, not daring to say a word. Yin Zheng, what a strong breeze. Let's continue watching. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master smiled faintly, and the image projected by the memory crystal changed again. It was another plot of Yin Feng's. After watching it, the scene changed again. Following this, more than 10 images were displayed, showing how Yin Feng had harmed the other disciples of the Dragon God Valley and even used his authority to humiliate the female disciples of the Dragon God Valley. Ah, my family, they're all Yin Feng. My sister. A few furious roars came from the crowd. They were the family members of those who had been harmed by Yin Feng. No one knew about it before, but now it was all exposed. Finally, the image changed to a mansion. Yin Feng was leading a group of people to massacre the people in the mansion. The Feng clan. Lu Ming yelled as he recognized the Feng clan's mansion. The people of the Feng clan fell before Yin Feng. Some of them were elderly and children. Some of them did not even practice martial arts, but they were all killed by Yin Feng. In the end, no one was spared. The Feng clan was burned to the ground. Lu Ming, let's see how you're going to defend yourself this time. Chapter 1493. The truth had been revealed. Previously, Yin Feng had said that the Feng family had been killed by Lu Ming. That was a lie. In fact, the Feng family had been destroyed by Yin Feng, and he had framed Lu Ming. From the beginning to the end, Yin Feng had wanted to frame Lu Ming and harm Lu Ming. What a vicious junior. You think you can do such things just because you have a good grandfather? Haha. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master sneered and kept the memory crystal with a wave of his hand. The image disappeared. As for Yin Feng, he sat weakly on the ground as if he had been drained of all his energy. He only regained his senses after a long while. Grandfather, save me. Yin Feng cried out loudly after regaining his senses. Shut up. The Silver Dragon Valley Master shouted coldly to shut Yin Feng up. He then said, I have been in seclusion for the past few years. I have neglected this grandson of mine. Now hand him over to me. I will bring him back and discipline him strictly. Discipline him strictly? What a joke! Lu Ming's mocking voice sounded as he continued. Do you think you can get rid of Yin Feng's crimes by saying that you will discipline him strictly? The Silver Dragon Valley Master's eyes were cold as he looked at Lu Ming and said, Then what do you want? Yin Feng's crimes are related to the entire Dragon God Valley. He must be punished according to the sect rules. At this point, Lu Ming cupped his fists toward the elder of the Dragon Punishment Hall and said, Elder, everyone saw what Yin Feng did just now. He is simply deranged and infuriating. According to the rules of the Divine Dragon Valley, how should we deal with such behavior? This, the Dragon Punishing Palace elder hesitated, squeaking. Yin Feng was the grandson of the Silver Dragon Valley Master, but Lu Ming was also the core disciple of the Cloud Dragon Valley Master. With so many witnesses, he did not know what to do at the moment. The Dragon Punishing Palace must be impartial. Otherwise, what's the point of having the Dragon Punishing Palace? The Cloud Dragon Valley Master said coldly. Many pairs of eyes looked towards the Dragon Punishing Palace elder. In the end, the dragon punishing palace elder gritted his teeth and said, Yin Feng's crimes are chilling. He should be executed as a warning to others. Boom! Hearing this, Valley Master Silver Dragon's aura went berserk. A beam of silver light shot into the sky. However, Yin Feng's expression changed drastically as he shouted, No, no, grandfather, save me! If he needs to be beheaded, then let me behead him. Lu Ming shouted. His true essence burst forth, condensing into a battle sword. Lu Ming, you dare? Valley Master Silver Dragon roared furiously. Why wouldn't I? Lu Ming took a step forward. His battle sword cut through the void and slashed out horizontally. Puff! Yin Feng's head flew far away, blood splattering everywhere. A spiritual deity appeared from Yin Feng's body in an incomparably terrified manner. However, the battle sword once again slashed out. Yin Feng's spiritual deity issued an unwilling, blood-curdling scream as it turned into ashes. Foam air! Silver Dragon Valley Master was enraged. Murderous intent surged from his body as he reached out a hand, wanting to kill Lu Ming. Swoosh! A terrifying sword radiance shot out from Valley Master Yunlong's hand and destroyed the hand. Valley Master Silver Dragon frantically retreated, but the sword radiance did not stop. Instead, it grew with the wind and turned into a sword radiance the size of a mountain, crushing towards Valley Master Silver Dragon. Valley Master Silver Dragon roared furiously. His body was covered in silver light as he punched out continuously. After at least 100 punches, he finally managed to block the sword radiance. However, there were several hideous sword wounds on his body. Puff, puff! Valley Master Silver Dragon spat out mouthfuls of blood as his face turned pale. So powerful! So powerful! Many people's hearts trembled. Valley Master Yunlong was too powerful. Valley Master Silver Dragon and Valley Master Yunlong were both Valley Masters of Dragon God Valley, but they seemed to be no match for Valley Master Yunlong. Yin Zheng, if you dare to attack my disciple again, I, Yun Ruoxu, will kill you even if I have to go to heaven or hell. Valley Master Yunlong's hair fluttered in the wind as his eyes pierced towards Valley Master Silver Dragon like two divine swords. Valley Master Silver Dragon's face darkened. He was filled with murderous intent, but he did not dare to attack again. He had no doubt that if he really attacked Lu Ming again, Yun Ruoxu, this lunatic, would really kill him. I will take Yin Feng's body away. Valley Master Silver Dragon said after a while, Take it away and get out of my sight. Valley Master Yunlong waved his hand and said, Valley Master Silver Dragon waved his hand and took Yin Feng's body away. He then stepped out without saying a word and disappeared from the place. At this moment, many people present were filled with complicated emotions. At the beginning, Yin Feng had come aggressively with his men to kill Lu Ming. However, he had not expected to lose his life here. Things changed so quickly that no one could predict it. Well done! Some people roared in their hearts. They were satisfied with the outcome. Many people knew that Yin Feng was a bully and had done many evil things. However, Yin Feng's grandfather was Valley Master Silver Dragon, an overlord of Dragon God Valley. Who would dare to say anything? They did not dare to say anything. Now that Yin Feng had been killed, everyone was satisfied, especially a few people who had just found out that Yin Feng had killed their family members from the memory crystal. They were so excited that their bodies trembled. The Dragon Punishment Palace should be reorganized. How could you be used by Yin Feng? Valley Master Yunlong glanced at the elder of the Dragon Punishment Palace. The elder of the Dragon Punishment Palace immediately said, Valley Master Yunlong is right. The Dragon Punishment Palace must be reorganized. He then looked sharply at the youths of the Dragon Punishment Palace and scolded, Why aren't you apologizing to Lu Ming? Those young men were trembling with fear, and they hurried to apologize to Lu Ming. Lu Ming smiled faintly. He did not care about these people and was too lazy to deal with them. The mission palace as well. Very good. They even dare to tamper with the sect's missions. It seems that many people do not care about me anymore after I have not drawn my sword for so many years. Valley Master Yunlong sneered and took a step forward. He disappeared from the place. This is troublesome. Let's go back to the Dragon Punishment Palace. The elder of the Dragon Punishment Palace shouted and left with the people of the Dragon Punishment Palace. Soon, a shocking piece of news spread in the Dragon God Valley. The Valley Master of the Cloud Dragon Valley was enraged by what had happened to his disciple, Lu Ming. He went to the mission hall and killed a few wardens who were involved in Lu Ming's matter on the spot. If the Valley Master of the Dragon God Valley had not arrived in time, one of the elders in the mission hall would have been killed by the Valley Master. In the end, the Valley Master of the Dragon God Valley had to mediate the situation. Only then did the Valley Master Yunlong leave. After this incident, the Cloud Dragon Valley was redefined in many people's hearts. The Valley Master Yunlong was too strong and domineering. He injured the Valley Master Yunlong, went to the mission palace, and killed a few deacons. He even needed the Valley Master of the Dragon God Valley to deal with this matter. Many people now knew that the Valley Master Yunlong was so strong. Many older people shook their heads and smiled bitterly. It would be strange if that madman was not strong. It was just that the madman's sword had not been drawn for many years. Many people had forgotten about the Valley Master Yunlong. The Valley Master Yunlong deserved it for provoking that madman. Chapter 1494. In a cave in the depths of Cloud Dragon Valley, Lu Ming stood in front of the Cloud Dragon Valley Master. Ming, did you really meet someone from the evil spirit sect? The Cloud Dragon Valley Master asked with a grave expression. That's right. That person is called Elder Demon Soul. I heard from him that he was severely injured 80,000 years ago and has yet to recover. Otherwise, my disciple would most likely be in danger. Lu Ming said, 80,000 years ago. Sigh, I didn't expect that there would still be remnants of the evil spirit sect. In addition, you met the soul-extinguishing king in the arch-mystic realm. Could it be that the evil spirit sect is going to rise from the ashes? The Cloud Dragon Valley Master sighed, and his expression became more and more grave. Lu Ming was surprised. Why did everyone have such a shocked expression when they heard about the evil spirit sect? For example, the Silver Dragon Valley Master even revealed a look of fear. Even someone as powerful as his master had such a grave expression. Master, what kind of faction is the evil spirit sect? What kind of faction is it? Is it very powerful? Lu Ming asked a few questions out of curiosity. Powerful, of course, very powerful. If it was at its peak, it could easily destroy the entire Tsang state. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master said solemnly, easily destroy the entire Tsang state. Lu Ming was shocked. There were countless factions in Tsang state. There were 13 top sects, and each of them had unfathomable strength. For example, Lu Ming couldn't see how powerful the Dragon God Valley was, or how many powerful cultivators were hidden in the depths of the vast snowy mountains. The evil spirit sect could easily destroy so many powerful factions. The peak of the evil spirit sect was 80,000 years ago. At that time, the evil spirit sect was extremely powerful and famous. They had a sect master and 2 vice sect masters, and they were all top cultivators in the Yuan continent. In addition, there were 36 guardian kings and 360 elders. Their strength was extremely terrifying. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master explained. 36 guardian kings? Lu Ming's pupils constricted as he thought of the soul-extinguishing king. Master, could it be that the guardian kings were all thearchs? Lu Ming's voice was a little dry. That's right. The Origin Dragon Valley Master nodded and said, the evil spirit sect has 36 guardian kings, all of whom are emperors. The 360 elders are all powerful existences in the sage realm. Lu Ming gasped a breath of cold air. The evil spirit sect's strength far exceeded his imagination. Did he offend such a powerful force? They hunt thearchs and those who have the potential to become thearchs. Lu Ming was shocked, but he was puzzled. Master, why did the evil spirit sect do that? I don't know. No one knows why the evil spirit sect did that. Maybe some thearchs knew, but they didn't announce it. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master shook his head and said, therefore the evil spirit sect caused all the forces in the Yuan continent to panic. In the end, countless forces, big and small, joined forces to kill the evil spirit sect. According to the records, the battle was so intense that the heavens collapsed and the earth cracked. Countless sage realm cultivators died in the battle, and even many thearchs fell. But in the end, the evil spirit sect was completely annihilated and disappeared from the world. Lu Ming was silent for a long time after hearing the Cloud Dragon Valley Master's words. The evil spirit sect was definitely a terrifying force. They specialized in killing thearchs and those who had the potential to become thearchs. He finally knew why so many people were terrified when they heard the name of the evil spirit sect. Lu Ming thought of many things. He thought of what he had encountered in the Tsang Dharch mystic realm. The Tsang Dharch had disappeared 60,000 years ago. In fact, it was because the Soul Annihilation King had killed his way into the Tsang Dharch mystic realm. Looking at the time, the evil spirit sect had already been wiped out. But it was obvious that the Soul Annihilation King hadn't died. He had killed his way into the Tsang Dharch mystic realm and fought against the Tsang Dharch for 60,000 years. Since the Soul Annihilation King hadn't died and Elder Demon Soul had survived, then did the evil spirit sect have other powerful cultivators who had survived? After 80,000 years, would the evil spirit sect rise from the ashes? A wisp of Elder Demon Soul's soul escaped and told Lu Ming to wait for the evil spirit sect's revenge. Could it be that the evil spirit sect was going to reappear in the world? Lu Ming felt a strong pressure on his body. It would be strange if he didn't feel pressure when facing such a terrifying force. Ming, go back and cultivate. I will report the matter of the evil spirit sect to the Valley Master and let him inform the other sects to discuss it together. Finally, the Cloud Dragon Valley Master instructed, I will take my leave. Lu Ming cupped his fists and left the Cloud Dragon Valley Master's cave abode to return to his own. After returning to his cave abode, Lu Ming meditated for a while before taking out a pile of origin stones and starting to devour and refine them. His chaotic domain had already broken through to the 3rd level. As long as he continued to refine origin stones, his cultivation level would increase. Over the next few days, Lu Ming cultivated in seclusion and refined the origin stones. His cultivation level advanced by leaps and bounds. From the early stage of the 2nd level Martial Emperor realm to the mid stage of the 2nd level Martial Emperor realm, then the late stage, and finally the peak 7 days later, Lu Ming's cultivation level broke through to the 3rd level Martial Emperor realm. Only then did Lu Ming stop devouring and refining the origin stones. Next, it was time to focus on comprehending the chaotic domain. Lu Ming didn't dare to waste any time. He really felt that his cultivation level was too low in the Yuan continent. He had to raise his cultivation level as soon as possible. However, comprehending the chaotic domain was not something that could be done in a short period of time. First, he had to pay a visit to the Treasured Dragon Palace to exchange for some treasures. Lu Ming left his cave abode and headed to the Treasured Dragon Palace. Soon, Lu Ming arrived at the Treasured Dragon Palace and went to the counter where he had exchanged the 10,000 spiritual liquid and the dragon bone. Senior, do you still remember me? Lu Ming greeted him with a smile. It's you? Young man, are you here to exchange for treasures again? The old man at the counter said with a smile. He had a deep impression of Lu Ming. After all, not every first-layer Martial Emperor realm cultivator had 2 million contribution points. Senior, I would like to exchange some treasures for contribution points. Lu Ming said, Oh, take them out and let me have a look. the old man said with a smile. Lu Ming handed a storage ring to the old man. Lu Ming scanned the ring with his spiritual sense and raised his eyebrows. Impressive young man. A sacred weapon and 5 martial emperors. Lu Ming nodded with a smile. Chapter 1495. Bright Sacred Weapon is an ordinary bright sacred weapon, worth 1 million contribution points. 5 Emperor spiritual weapons, worth 50,000 contribution points. A total of 1,050,000 contribution points. Little guy, give me your identity token, the old man said. Lu Ming handed his identity token to the old man. In the next moment, 1,050,000 contribution points appeared in Lu Ming's identity token. Together with the 50,000 contribution points he had before, he had a total of 1,100,000 contribution points. Little guy, what treasure do you want to exchange for? The old man asked. Senior, do you have any glove-type sacred weapons here? Lu Ming asked. He had always wanted to buy a glove-type sacred weapon as it would give him a huge commission for close combat. Due to the bloodline of the divine Dragon Valley, there are many people who cultivate fist, palm, and finger techniques. Hence, there are many glove-type weapons. Therefore, the Treasure Dragon Palace doesn't have any glove-type sacred weapons for now. Moreover, glove-type sacred weapons are more complicated and difficult to refine. Hence, they are 2 to 3 times more expensive than ordinary sacred weapons. The old man shook his head and explained. So expensive? Lu Ming smiled bitterly. Glove-type sacred weapons were 2 to 3 times more expensive than ordinary sacred weapons. Even if the Treasure Dragon Palace did have one, they wouldn't be able to afford it. Lu Ming shook his head. He would have to think of a way to get a glove-type sacred weapon in the future. He would exchange for something else first. Lu Ming had an idea and said, Senior, I would like to exchange for some spiritual materials. Purple flame crystal, dragon carp, fire spiritual root. Lu Ming told the old man the 7 main materials to refine the Nirvana elixir. This was the Yuan continent. He might be able to collect those materials and refine the Nirvana elixir when he returned to the divine wilderness. Little guy, are you trying to refine the Nirvana elixir? The old man asked. Lu Ming was shocked. This old man also knew about the Nirvana elixir. Moreover, he knew about the Nirvana elixir when Lu Ming mentioned the spiritual materials. Did he have the recipe for the Nirvana elixir as well? Little guy, you might as well exchange for the Nirvana elixir directly. The old man continued. Exchange for the Nirvana elixir directly? Nirvana elixir exchange here? Lu Ming could not help but ask. Haha, of course. The Nirvana elixir isn't some precious elixir. Almost every sect in the Yuanlu continent has it. Even many small clans and forces have it. It is used to raise the bloodline grade of the younger generation and enhance their talents. The old man said with a smile. Lu Ming was speechless. The Nirvana elixir, which he regarded as a treasure, was actually a common commodity in the Yuanlu. Thinking about it, it made sense. There were too many prodigies in the Yuan continent. For a large sect like the Dragon God Valley, the lowest requirement for recruiting disciples was to awaken a level 9 divine class bloodline. Many people who had awakened a level 9 divine class bloodline couldn't even join a large sect like the Dragon God Valley. Therefore, the Nirvana elixir was not a rare elixir in the Yuan continent. Lu Ming guessed that the Nirvana elixir recipe that he had obtained in the divine, desolate continent might have been brought back by a sovereign from the Yuan continent. It was very common in the Yuan continent, but it was priceless in the divine wilderness continent. Senior, then I'll directly exchange for Nirvana pills. I wonder how many contribution points 1 pill costs? Lu Ming asked. 1 pill costs 10,000 middle-grade origin stones, which is 100 contribution points each. The old man said, So cheap. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat, and he smiled bitterly in his heart. In the divine wilderness continent, the Nirvana elixir that could make all the forces go crazy was really cheap here. and sovereign-class spiritual weapon could be exchanged for 100 of them. Senior, I'll exchange for 1,000 pills. Do you have any? Lu Ming asked. If he brought 1,000 pills back to the divine wilderness continent, how many prodigies would the Dragon Alliance produce? Yes, there are plenty of nirvana elixirs. The old man smiled and took out a storage ring and handed it to Lu Ming. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat and a jade bottle appeared in his hand. It contained the nirvana elixir. Looking at the quality, it was much better than the ones he had refined in the past. This nirvana elixir can raise one's bloodline by 3 to 4 levels, or even more. The old man explained. Lu Ming's heart was burning with passion. He really hoped that he could immediately fly back to the divine wilderness continent and give these nirvana elixirs to his family and friends. Lu Ming could not help but sigh. The cultivation level of the divine wilderness continent was too far from that of the Yuan continent. In the divine wilderness continent, it was a supreme treasure. In the Yuan continent, it was very likely to be a common commodity. Lu Ming kept the nirvana elixir and the contribution points on his identity token decreased by 100,000. He was left with 1,000,000 contribution points. Senior, I'd like to exchange for 50 kilograms of 10,000 spirit liquid. Lu Ming thought for a moment and decided to exchange all his remaining contribution points for the 10,000 spirit liquid. He had originally wanted to exchange for a void-piercing flying shuttle, but after asking around, the price was even more shocking. He couldn't afford it at all. He might as well buy all the 10,000 spirits liquid and use it on the Tao Comprehension ancient tree to grow. During his trip to the Death Wasteland, he saw the Titan longhorn beetle sitting under the Enlightenment ancient tree. The Enlightenment ancient tree had left a deep impression on Lu Ming. It was as tall as the sky and covered the sun. On the tree branches, the great Tao lingered. If one cultivated under it and comprehended the great Tao of heaven and earth, the effects would definitely be shocking. That was the real Enlightenment ancient tree. Lu Ming's Enlightenment ancient tree could not be compared. Lu Ming was looking forward to the day when he could cultivate the Enlightenment ancient tree to such a scale. You exchanged for so much 10,000 spirit liquid. The old man was a little surprised. Why, you don't have it? Lu Ming asked. Yes, I am just a little surprised. Wait for me for a moment. The old man left the counter and soon returned. He gave Lu Ming a storage ring. There were 10 big bottles of 10,000 spirit liquid in it, which added up to 50 pounds. Lu Ming received it happily. The contribution points on his identity token had become 0. Lu Ming smiled bitterly. He was really poor, since he had exchanged for the treasures he needed. Lu Ming returned to the Cloud Dragon Valley. After returning to his cave, Lu Ming entered the mountain and river pattern. At the top of a mountain, the Enlightenment ancient tree swayed while emitting a heavenly Tao aura. Bubble was lying under the Enlightenment ancient tree while emitting a milky white glow. The space around her rippled like water. Bubble's cultivation had improved tremendously since she had obtained the time and space crystal from the Titan longhorn beetle. A few days ago, she had ranked up to the 3rd layer martial dominator realm. Now, she was trying to break through to the 4th layer martial dominator realm. Lu Ming let out a smile as he glanced at the Enlightenment ancient tree. During this period of time, the tree of enlightenment had grown tremendously. It had already sprouted 2 side branches, and there were more than a dozen green leaves on them. Although it couldn't be compared to the Titan longhorn beetle's tree of enlightenment, it had grown many times over compared to when it had just arrived in the Yuan land. Lu Ming took out a jade jar and poured 5 kilograms of 10,000 spirit liquid onto the roots of the enlightenment ancient tree. Following this, Lu Ming exited the mountain and river pattern. After exiting the mountain and river pattern, Lu Ming left the cave and headed deeper into the Cloud Dragon Valley. Lu Ming's target was the Cloud Dragon Valley Master's Library, which contained the Cloud Dragon Valley Master's cultivation experience. Soon, Lu Ming arrived at the Cloud Dragon Valley Master's library. Chapter 1496. For the next 10 days or so, Lu Ming stayed in the library, flipping through the books and reading the cultivation insights left behind by the Valley Master of the Cloud Dragon Valley in detail. Lu Ming was greatly inspired. After that, Lu Ming returned to his cave. A heavenly law stone floated above Lu Ming's head. Lu Ming was deeply immersed in enlightenment. The heavenly law stone would slowly shrink and disappear as the martial artist gained enlightenment. After a few days, when the heavenly law stone disappeared, Lu Ming changed to another one. Lu Ming was immersed in cultivation. Of course, Lu Ming did not blindly comprehend the chaotic territory. Every day, he would spend some time cultivating the Holy Sword art. The Holy Sword art could strengthen one's soul and increase the strength of one's soul attacks. Lu Ming would definitely not neglect this secret skill. If he cultivated it to a high level, it would be of great help to Lu Ming. In addition, Lu Ming did not neglect the power-storing 13 strikes and the chaotic sky flipping seal. He would cultivate them every day. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, 3 months had passed. On this day, Lu Ming stopped cultivating. It is indeed difficult to cultivate the chaotic territory. It is too slow to improve. Lu Ming sighed. He had been cultivating with the heavenly law stone for 3 months. Until now, his chaotic territory had not even reached the peak of level 3, let alone level 4. One should know that he had the help of the heavenly law stone. The heavenly law stone was extremely precious. Even Sage Realm experts wanted it. Other Royal Realm martial artists would not have such a treasure to help them cultivate, unless they were the top geniuses of some sect. However, they could also cultivate with the heavenly law stone all the time like Lu Ming. In 3 months, he had used almost 30 heavenly law stones, but his chaotic territory had not reached the peak of level 3. This showed how difficult it was to cultivate the chaotic territory. As the level of the chaotic territory increased, the difficulty of cultivation would continue to increase. Previously, he was able to improve rapidly because he had refined the 3 Emperor Realm fruits and watched the battle between the Titan Longhorn Beetle and the 3-eyed creature. However, his improvement was slower now that he was cultivating normally. Other than the Primal Chaos domain, his progress in other aspects was extremely fast. Lu Ming had cultivated the power-storing 13 strikes to the 5th level. When he struck out with his long spear, 10 layers of power erupted at the same time. Its power was astonishing. It had become Lu Ming's strongest attack apart from the chaotic flipping sky seal. It was even stronger than when he used the hell-suppressing heaven art. It also allowed Lu Ming's attacking methods to have more variations. As for the chaotic flipping sky seal, it had advanced to the 3rd level. Not only was it more powerful, but Lu Ming could also use it more smoothly. As for the divine sword secret art, his progress was also very fast. Lu Ming's soul had already been refined by the world refining tribulation bell. It was dozens of times stronger than an ordinary person's soul. It was simply too suitable for him to cultivate soul attacks. After this period of cultivation, Lu Ming's soul power had not only become stronger, but the offensive power of the divine sword art had also increased rapidly. Its power was astonishing. Lu Ming was very satisfied with these improvements. However, the Primal Chaos domain's improvement was too slow. I can't cultivate like this. I have to speed up. I heard that the heavenly floating platform of the Dragon God Valley can help one comprehend the heavenly Tao and cultivate the Primal Chaos domain. Let's go take a look. Lu Ming finished his cultivation and planned to make a trip to the heavenly floating platform. A large sect like the Dragon God Valley naturally had many wondrous places that could help people cultivate. The heavenly floating platform was such a cultivation holy land. It was extremely famous in the Dragon God Valley. The disciples of the Dragon God Valley only needed to pay an origin stone to be able to step on it. Lu Ming left the Cloud Dragon Valley and flew towards the depths of the snow mountain. Soon, Lu Ming landed in front of a canyon. The heavenly floating platform was in the middle of a few large snow mountains. Two of the snow mountains formed a canyon passage. If one wanted to enter the heavenly floating platform, they had to go through this passage. Stop right there. Just as Lu Ming was about to enter the passage, he was stopped by a few young men. What's the meaning of this? Lu Ming asked with a frown. As far as he knew, there was no one guarding the passage in front of the heavenly floating platform. Only after entering the passage would there be someone guarding it and paying the origin stone. The heavenly floating platform has been reserved by the people of the Silver Dragon Valley and the Blood Dragon Valley. You can come back later. One of the young men sneered. Reserved by the Silver Dragon Valley and the Blood Dragon Valley? The heavenly floating platform is the cultivation, holy land of the Dragon God Valley. It's open to all disciples of the 7 valleys. I've never heard that it belongs to one of the Dragon Valleys. Move aside, Lu Ming said. Lu Ming, what are you doing? I said it's reserved, so it's reserved. One of the young men blocked Lu Ming's path. You know me? Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. The young men's faces were cold as they sneered. Whoosh! Whoosh! At this moment, 2 young men in snow-white robes with an ice dragon embroidered on them appeared. They were disciples of the Ice Dragon Valley. The 2 Ice Dragon Valley disciples did not stop them. They directly entered the passageway and disappeared. Lu Ming frowned and said, Didn't you say that the heavenly floating platform has been reserved by the Silver Dragon Valley and the Blood Dragon Valley? Why can the people of the Ice Dragon Valley enter? The few young men only stood in front of Lu Ming. There was a mocking smile in their eyes, but they did not speak. Lu Ming's eyes turned cold. They must be deliberately making things difficult for him. They were obviously disciples of the Silver Dragon Valley. He had killed Yin Feng in front of the Valley Master of the Silver Dragon Valley, so he had become enemies with the Silver Dragon Valley. However, these people were able to recognize him at a glance, even though he had never seen them before. This made Lu Ming think of many things. Could it be that the Valley Master of the Silver Dragon Valley had purposely sent people to stop Lu Ming from cultivating at the heavenly floating platform? Upon having this thought, Lu Ming's eyes flickered sharply as he took a step forward. Bang! 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 3 young men of the Silver Dragon Valley emitted powerful auras. They were all peak 4th layer martial dominators. Hold it right there. One of the young men snapped coldly as 3 streams of pressure landed on Lu Ming's figure. At this time, a few more people came over. When they saw this situation, they couldn't help but stop and watch. That's Lu Ming. Those are the disciples of the Silver Dragon Valley. This is going to be interesting. A few months ago, Lu Ming killed Yin Feng in front of the Valley Master of the Silver Dragon Valley, which infuriated the Valley Master. I heard that after the Valley Master returned to the Silver Dragon Valley, he immediately gathered the young disciples of the Silver Dragon Valley and told them to take care of Lu Ming if they were to stumble into Lu Ming outside. The few people who were watching were discussing softly. Although their voices were soft, Lu Ming could still hear them clearly. Lu Ming's gaze became colder. As the Valley Master of the Silver Dragon Valley, not only did he not teach his grandson a lesson after he had committed a heinous crime, he even tried to slander Lu Ming, resulting in his grandson being killed by Lu Ming. Now, he actually instigated the Silver Dragon Valley disciples to deal with Lu Ming. He was simply despicable and shameless. Chapter 1497. Lu Ming's eyes were like lightning as a powerful aura emanated from his body, crushing the aura of the 3 youths. Get lost! Afterward, Lu Ming hollered. With this roar, Lu Ming used the divine sword art. An invisible wave rushed towards the 3 youths and blasted into their spiritual deities. At this moment, the 3 youths' spiritual deities trembled violently as if they were hit by a hurricane. At the same time, Lu Ming seemed to have turned into a giant beast in their eyes. A terrifying aura pressed down on them. Their bodies trembled violently as they screamed and fell to the ground. Their bodies were drenched in cold sweat. The onlookers at the side were dumbfounded. Lu Ming's roar actually made the three youths from the Silver Dragon Valley fall to the ground. It was unbelievable. Of course, they did not know that it was because of the divine sword art. The divine sword art was mainly to enhance one's soul power and then use it to launch an attack. After this period of cultivation, Lu Ming had already cultivated the divine sword art to the point where it was invisible. With a roar, the divine sword art was activated and directly attacked the opponent's soul. It was invisible and incomparably mysterious. The three young men from the Silver Dragon Valley were attacked by Lu Ming. Their spirit deities were shaken, and they even had hallucinations. They thought that they had seen a primitive giant beast. Their bodies and minds were shaken, and they sat on the ground. After a while, the three youths came to their senses. "Damn it, Lu Ming! What kind of sorcery did you use just now? I'm going to cripple you." The youth in the middle roared, his face flushed red. The other two youths were about the same. It was too embarrassing. They were scared to the point of sitting on the ground by Lu Ming's roar. If this spread out, they would definitely become a laughingstock. They blamed it all on Lu Ming. The three youths roared as their true essence erupted and attacked Lu Ming. "Get lost!" Lu Ming roared again. This roar not only contained the attack of the divine sword technique, but also a powerful true essence. The true essence formed a storm and bombarded out. After reaching the martial emperor realm, the higher the grade of the spiritual body, the stronger the spiritual body. Even the spiritual body itself would be stronger and more condensed. For martial emperors, the increase of their cultivation was a combination of true origin and spiritual body. Therefore, true origin and spiritual body complemented each other. Otherwise, a person with a high-level spirit body wouldn't be so strong. The higher the level of the spirit body, the higher the level of the true essence. With Lu Ming's current cultivation level and medium earth spirit body, he could easily crush his opponent with his true essence. As soon as the three Silver Dragon Valley youths rushed out, they were hit by the divine sword skill. Their spiritual spirits shook violently and they felt a tearing pain. Then Lu Ming's genuine vitality hit them, causing them to howl and spit out blood. Their bodies flew backward and fell heavily on the ground. The onlookers sucked in a breath of cold air, shocked beyond words. The previous shout had caused the three Silver Dragon Valley youths to sit on the ground. Now, with a shout, the three of them were seriously injured and spat out blood. This was too shocking. Lu Ming glanced at the three of them coldly and strode into the passage. After Lu Ming had gone far away, the three Silver Dragon Valley youths struggled to get up. Their eyes were filled with fear, and they walked into the passage. After walking through the passage, there was a counter at the entrance of the passage, and someone was guarding it. This was the place where the true guards were stationed. You need to pay 200,000 medium primordial stones to enter the floating platform. One of the guards at the counter said. Lu Ming nodded and paid 200,000 medium primordial stones. Then he stepped into the floating platform and looked forward. A shocking scene greeted Lu Ming's eyes. This place was in the middle of a few snowy mountains, forming a huge kernel. The area was very wide. In front of him, there were stone platforms floating in the air. There were a total of 36 rows, and each row was slanted upwards. Every 100 meters, there would be a stone platform floating in the air. Just like that, there were 13 stone platforms that extended into the void. This was the floating platform. In short, there were a total of 36 rows, and each row had 13 stone platforms. Each of them was 100 meters apart and extended into the void. At this moment, there were already people sitting cross-legged on some of the stone platforms. Each row could only allow one person to enter at a time. Lu Ming saw that some people were sitting cross-legged on the third stone platform. Some were sitting cross-legged on the fourth stone platform, and some were sitting on the fifth stone platform. There were dense inscriptions on the stone platforms that covered the people who were sitting cross-legged. Some people stood below and watched. It was said that the floating platform was created by the founder of the divine Dragon Valley. It was very magical. When one sat on it, their spirit would escape into the endless void. There was a battlefield created by the founder of the divine Dragon Valley. There were heavenly law mutated beasts formed by the heavenly law. When martial artists fought with them, they could comprehend the heavenly law, domain, and even law. Every time one ascended a stone platform, the difficulty would increase accordingly. Lu Ming walked forward casually. A few young men were watching. At this moment, all of them looked toward Lu Ming with sharp gazes. At this moment, the 3 young men from the Silver Dragon Valley, who were injured by Lu Ming's shout earlier, walked in. They came to the side of the few young men and whispered a few words to them. The sharpness in the few young men's eyes intensified. A young man with silver robes said coldly, "This Lu Ming is getting more and more arrogant with the support of the valley leader of the Cloud Dragon Valley. I'll teach him a lesson." After saying this, he walked toward Lu Ming. "So you're Lu Ming?" The young man with silver robes said coldly, "That's right. What's the matter?" Lu Ming replied casually, "You're here to cultivate too, but your cultivation is only at the 3rd layer martial dominator realm. I'm afraid you won't be able to pass a few platforms. It's a waste of the origin stones." The young man in the silver robe said with a mocking tone, "I'm only able to pass a few platforms. I don't think it's a waste of the origin stones. Besides, you're only at the 5th layer martial dominator realm. I doubt you'll be able to pass more platforms than me." Lu Ming said calmly, "Not as many as you." "How funny, Lu Ming. I think you're being too full of yourself." "You think you're so full of yourself just because you're a little talented? There are countless geniuses in this world, and there are plenty of people in the Dragon Valley who are more talented than you." The young man in the silver robe mocked. "Oh, does that mean you're quite talented? Do you dare to bet with me with your cultivation of the 5th layer martial dominator realm?" Lu Ming said, "Bet? What kind of bet?" The young man's eyes flickered. "Let's bet on who will be able to reach a higher platform." Lu Ming said, "You want to bet with me?" "Sure, I accept. What's the bet?" The young man in the silver robe accepted without hesitation. There were a total of 13 platforms that extended into the sky. Each of them corresponded to a domain. The first platform was equivalent to a 1st-grade domain. The second platform was equivalent to a 2nd-grade domain, and so on. Lu Ming's cultivation was only at the 3rd layer martial dominator realm with a 3rd-grade domain. Regardless of how powerful his domain was, it would be impressive if he could reach the 4th platform. However, the young man in the silver robe had a 6th-grade domain despite his cultivation of the 5th layer martial dominator realm, allowing him to reach the 6th platform. Unless Lu Ming could reach the 7th stone platform, he would not be able to defeat him. Chapter 1498. In his opinion, Lu Ming must have never been to the sky-reaching floating platform before and did not know the mysteries within. That was why he made the bet with him. "How about we bet 500,000 contribution points?" Lu Ming said, 500,000 contribution points." The silver-robed young man's heart skipped a beat. Then flames of greed appeared in his eyes as he said, "Okay, I agree." Then the silver-robed young man shouted, "Junior brothers, senior brothers, please bear witness." As soon as the silver-robed young man shouted, the young men below the stone platform all looked over. Some of them walked over. Those who were with the silver-robed young man also walked over. "What witness?" Someone asked. "Everyone, this person is Lu Ming." The silver-robed young man pointed at Lu Ming. "Lu Ming? It's him. He's Lu Ming." Some people blurted out. Now Lu Ming was very famous. At the entrance of the Cloud Dragon Valley, he killed Yin Feng in front of the Valley Master of the Silver Dragon Valley, causing the Valley Master of the Silver Dragon Valley to be injured. Later on, The Valley Master of the Cloud Dragon Valley even killed a few wardens of the mission hall because of this matter. All of this was because of Lu Ming. Lu Ming's name was known by many people. At this moment, they all looked at Lu Ming curiously. Junior brother Lu Ming wants to make a bet with me. Let's bet on who will be able to reach the higher stone platform. The bet is 500,000 contribution points. Is that right, junior brother Lu Ming? The silver-robed young man asked. What? His words shocked everyone, and they looked at Lu Ming in disbelief. Lu Ming actually wanted to make a bet with the silver-robed youth. The bet was 500,000 contribution points. With Lu Ming's cultivation, wouldn't he lose to the silver-robed young man for sure? Stepping onto the stone platform didn't depend on one's combat strength. It depended on one's domain. The higher the level of one's domain, the stronger one would be able to step onto the higher stone platform. Could it be that this Lu Ming had so many contribution points that he had nowhere to spend them? The corners of Lu Ming's mouth curled up slightly. This silver-robed young man was afraid that Lu Ming would go back on his word, so he found these people to be witnesses. However, this was exactly what Lu Ming wanted. That's right, that's true. Lu Ming nodded. All right, Lu Ming agrees. We can be witnesses. A young man who was with the silver-robed young man blurted out. The others also nodded, indicating that they could bear witness. Junior brother Lu Ming, let's begin, said the silver-robed young man. He was rather impatient and was afraid that an undue delay would lead to trouble. Sure, Lu Ming smiled. The two of them chose 2 stone platforms that were close to each other. There was no one else on these stone platforms. Bang, bang. The two of them jumped onto the first stone platform almost at the same time. Then, the two of them sat down cross-legged at the same time. The stone platform glowed and dense inscriptions appeared, covering the two of them. The first function of these inscriptions was to allow one's mind to escape into the unpredictable void. The second function was to prevent others from attacking. It had a defensive function. Although the Dragon God Valley had a rule that no one was to attack others on the floating platform, or else they would be severely punished, there might be people who would take the risk. Therefore, these inscriptions played a very good defensive role. When the inscriptions covered Lu Ming's body, he felt his mind, or rather his soul, being drawn out of his body. The space around him flashed past like a flickering light. In the next moment, Lu Ming realized that he had arrived at a chaotic land. All around them was a vast expanse of boundless emptiness. However, Lu Ming realized that the aura of the great Tao here was extremely rich. If he cultivated here, the effect would be at least 10 times better. Is this the heavenly battlefield that the founder of the Dragon God Valley opened up? Lu Ming thought to himself. Roar! Suddenly, there was a loud roar, and a strange beast appeared in front of him. This strange beast was filled with the aura of the great Tao. A heavenly beast. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Roar! 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 Then there were loud roars one after another as heavenly beasts appeared one after another. These heavenly Tao beasts were in different forms. Some were in the form of tigers, some were wolves, and some were snakes. The one thing that was similar was that there was a golden mark in the middle of their eyebrows. Heavenly Tao mark. Lu Ming's eyes shone brightly. In the heavenly battlefield, as long as one killed these strange beasts, the heavenly Tao mark in the middle of their eyebrows would be absorbed by the cultivator, and they would be able to comprehend the heavenly Tao and domain. It was extremely magical. There were loud roars, and at least 5 to 6 heavenly Tao mutated beasts pounced on Lu Ming. Condense. The primal chaos domain spread out and then began to shrink. In the end, it turned into a long spear that Lu Ming held in his hand. In the heavenly battlefield, because one's mind could enter it, all weapons and true yuan couldn't be used. The only thing that could be used was the domain. Whoosh! The long spear pierced out, and a spear light pierced through the vast space, killing a heavenly beasts. Then the long spear swept out, and 5 or 6 heavenly beasts were defeated at the same time. The heavenly beasts were defeated and turned into heavenly Tao energy. However, the heavenly Tao mark in the middle of their eyebrows emitted a golden light and flew into Lu Ming's body and disappeared. Roar, roar, roar. The roars were like thunder as more heavenly beasts appeared and charged towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming held the long spear formed by the primal chaos domain and charged forward. The long spear trembled and spear shadows flashed. More than 10 spear lights pierced through the air and killed more than 10 heavenly beasts. This was the first floating platform. The heavenly beasts that appeared were equivalent to first-grade domains. To Lu Ming, this wasn't difficult at all. Soon, Lu Ming killed a total of 108 heavenly beasts. At this time, no more heavenly beasts appeared. At this time, Lu Ming felt his body tighten. In the next moment, he discovered that he had returned to his physical body on the heavenly floating platform. And the heavenly Tao mark! Lu Ming felt and found that there were 108 golden heavenly Tao marks in his mind. Wonderful, this is really wonderful. Lu Ming sighed. Then he closed his eyes and refined these heavenly Tao marks. His body emitted a faint golden light. On the floating platform, next to Lu Ming, the silver-robed youth also opened his eyes. He glanced at Lu Ming and sneered. He also began to refine the heavenly Tao marks. 10 minutes later, the silver-robed youth stood up. The inscriptions covering his body automatically withdrew and disappeared. Looking disdainfully at Lu Ming, who was still refining, the silver-robed youth took a step forward and crossed 100 meters. He appeared on the second floating platform and sat down cross-legged. Similarly, on the second floating platform, numerous inscriptions appeared and covered his body. And Lu Ming continued to sit on the first floating platform. Half an hour later, Lu Ming felt that the heavenly Tao marks he had just obtained had been completely refined. The primal chaos domain has indeed strengthened. It's comparable to 7 days of cultivation. Lu Ming revealed a smile. He was shocked by the effects of the heavenly floating platform. Chapter 1499. Then let's continue. Lu Ming stood up and the inscriptions on his body automatically retreated. Haha, this Lu Ming is going to lose for sure. The first floating platform took so long, and he actually dared to make a bet with senior brother Yinqing. He's simply giving senior brother Yinqing contribution points. 500,000 contribution points. I'm so jealous. Senior brother Yinqing has earned a lot of contribution points. Below, some people looked at Lu Ming and mocked him. Lu Ming smiled faintly and couldn't be bothered with them. The bet between him and the silver-robed youth was about who could step onto the higher floating platform, not who would take the shorter time. This was his first time here, and he had refined the heavenly Tao imprint until there wasn't a single trace left. Naturally, it took him more time. Then Lu Ming took a step forward and stepped onto the second floating platform. He sat down cross-legged. The second floating platform glowed, and the inscription shrouded Lu Ming again. In the next moment, he was back in the land of chaos. Roar, roar. Just like last time, heavenly law-mutated beasts appeared one after another. However, this time there were 2 golden heavenly Tao imprints between their eyebrows. 2 golden heavenly Tao imprints meant that the heavenly law-mutated beasts here had the strength of a grade 2 domain. Roars rang out as the heavenly law mutated beasts pounced towards Lu Ming. The primal chaos domain once again formed a long spear. Lu Ming held the long spear and charged forward. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Spear light swept out, and the heavenly law mutated beasts were killed one after another. Soon, all 108 mutated beasts were killed by Lu Ming, and he reappeared on the floating platform. He took a glance and saw that the silver-robed youth was already on the third floating platform. Lu Ming ignored him and closed his eyes to refine the heavenly Tao imprint. The number of heavenly Tao imprints on the second floating platform was double that of the first one. An hour later, when Lu Ming had finished refining the heavenly Tao imprint, he felt that the primal chaos domain had increased by another level. Lu Ming took a step forward and appeared on the third floating platform. The third floating platform was a Heaven Dao variant that had appeared after entering the vast primal chaos. It had 3 golden marks on its forehead and was equivalent to a third-grade personal domain. In terms of level, it was on par with Lu Ming's personal domain. However, Lu Ming's domain was the primal chaos domain, the emperor of thousands of domains. There were very few in the world that could be compared to the primal chaos domain. Even though they were of the same level, Zhang Xian would still be able to crush Zhang Xian. Not long after, the 108 heavenly Dao beasts were killed, and Lu Ming began to refine the heavenly Dao imprint. Below, some people continued to discuss. This Lu Ming's talent is not bad. He can fight above his level. I estimate that he can reach the 4th floating platform, but that's definitely his limit. That's right. The 3rd floating platform has 108 heavenly law mutant beasts that are equivalent to rank 4 domain beasts. This Lu Ming will be lucky if he can kill 10 of them. Senior brother Yinqing's domain has already broken through to rank 6. Last time, he was able to kill 50 heavenly law mutant beasts on the 6th floating platform. There's no suspense in this bet. A few youths who were with Yinqing spoke one after another. Look, senior brother Yinqing is going to the 5th floating platform. Someone shouted. Sure enough, at this moment, Silver City stood up, took a step forward, and appeared on the 5th floating platform. He turned to look at Lu Ming, who was still on the 3rd floating platform. The corners of his lips curled into a cold smile as he sat down cross-legged. This time, it took Lu Ming 2 hours to refine the heavenly Dao imprint. He could feel that his primal chaos domain was approaching the peak of rank 3 domain. Lu Ming stood up and took a step forward. He stepped onto the 4th floating platform and sat down cross-legged. This brat is on the 4th floating platform. Watch carefully. In less than half a minute, he will be blasted off the floating platform. One of Yinqing's companions said disdainfully. Very quickly, half a minute passed. Lu Ming's figure was as steady as a rock. He can only hold on for a while longer. At most, he will be blasted off the platform in 3 minutes. The youth who spoke previously blushed and said awkwardly. Very quickly, 3 minutes passed. Lu Ming's figure was still as steady as a rock. He definitely won't last more than 10 minutes. The youth gritted his teeth. 10 minutes later, Lu Ming's body emitted a golden radiance. It was obvious that he had killed all the heavenly Dao beasts and was beginning to refine the heavenly Dao imprint. That's fast. He killed all the beasts on the 4th floating platform in 10 minutes. That's really fast. Yinqing used 15 minutes just now. Who was the one who kept saying that Lu Ming would be blasted off the platform? The other youths started to discuss among themselves. They were extremely shocked. Some of them even looked at the youth who spoke previously. That youth's face was as red as a pig's liver. He was so angry that he almost vomited blood. He only passed the 4th floating platform by luck. He definitely won't pass the 5th. The youth gritted his teeth. Everyone looked on as time passed slowly. After a period of time, Yinqing suddenly stood up on the 5th platform. That brat should be blasted off the platform. The corner of Yinqing's mouth curled into a cold smile as he looked behind him. His expression changed when he saw Yinqing. You actually passed the 4th floating platform. Consider yourself lucky. However, the 5th floating platform is your limit. Yinqing snorted coldly. He took a step forward and stepped onto the 6th floating platform. He entered the heavenly Dao battlefield to fight the heavenly Dao beasts. Below the floating platforms, everyone watched quietly. After about 20 minutes, Yinqing, who was sitting cross-legged on the 6th floating platform, suddenly trembled. Inscriptions flashed, and Yinqing's body flew out of the floating platform and landed at the bottom of the platform. Senior brother Yinqing, how many level 6 heavenly Dao beasts did you kill this time? The youth who kept saying that Lu Ming would be blasted off the platform hurriedly asked. 68, Yin Cheng replied. 68. That's 18 more than the last time. Congratulations, senior brother. It won't be long before you pass the 6th floating platform. The youth quickly flattered. Yin Cheng smiled faintly, revealing a trace of complacency. He then looked at Lu Ming on the 4th floating platform. At this moment, Lu Ming stood up and took a step forward. He stepped onto the 5th floating platform and sat down cross-legged. Inscriptions immediately covered his body. A level 3 realm. Stepping onto the 5th floating platform is his limit, Yin Cheng said coldly. That's right. He definitely won't be able to kill 10 level 5 heavenly Dao beasts. He will be blasted off the platform, the youth from before said. However, time passed. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes. Lu Ming was still sitting cross-legged on the floating platform. The youth had completely shut up. Yin Cheng's expression also turned cold. In the heavenly Dao battlefield, Lu Ming was fighting. In the heavenly Dao battlefield on the 5th platform, the heavenly Dao beasts gathered were equivalent to level 5 realms. Level 5 realm heavenly Dao beasts were extremely powerful. They pounced with shocking might. However, the chaotic domain was still able to suppress these beasts. Chapter 1500. Whoosh! With a flash of the spear, a level 5 heavenly law exotic beast was killed. With another sweep, another level 5 heavenly law exotic beast was sent flying, crashing into several other heavenly law exotic beasts. As the spear light swept through, one heavenly law exotic beast after another was defeated by Lu Ming. After an unknown period of time, when the last heavenly law exotic beast was killed, Lu Ming's consciousness returned to the 5th floating platform. He opened his eyes and casually glanced at Silver City, who had appeared below the floating platform. A faint smile appeared at the corner of his mouth as he began to refine the heavenly Dao imprint. After a few hours, the heavenly Dao imprint was refined. Lu Ming stood up and stepped onto the 6th floating platform. Below the floating platform, Silver City's expression was extremely gloomy. Even if this Lu Ming is lucky enough to step onto the 6th floating platform, what can he do? Senior Brother Silver City killed 68 heavenly law exotic beasts. This Lu Ming definitely won't be able to kill 68. It was that young man again, gritting his teeth. Silver City's expression was cold and indifferent. He didn't say anything as he stared at Lu Ming, who was sitting cross-legged on the 6th floating platform. He couldn't wait for Lu Ming to be sent flying off the floating platform. Unfortunately, he was disappointed. Lu Ming's figure didn't move at all. On the 6th floating platform, Lu Ming was fighting with all his might in the heavenly law battlefield. The heavenly law exotic beasts here were even more frightening. Every heavenly law exotic beast was equivalent to a level 6 domain expert, while Lu Ming was only a level 3 domain expert. There was a difference of 3 levels. Furthermore, there were 108 heavenly law exotic beasts surrounding Lu Ming. The pressure on Lu Ming had truly increased. Bam! His spear swept across, sweeping across a heavenly law exotic beast. This heavenly law exotic beast was only sent flying, but it wasn't seriously injured. It roared, got up, and charged at Lu Ming. Whoosh! Lu Ming's chaotic domain spear pierced a heavenly Dao mutated beast. Halfway through, it was stuck by the mutated beast. A level 6 heavenly law exotic beast is indeed very strong. Lu Ming's eyes revealed a trace of surprise. Immediately after, Lu Ming took a step forward and charged towards the strange beast like a bolt of lightning. His leg, wrapped in the chaotic domain, stomped heavily on the strange beast's head. Lu Ming stomped down on the strange beast. Then his long spear suddenly pierced through the strange beast's body. The long spear shook, and the strange beast collapsed. The first level 6 exotic beast was killed. Roar! 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 With thunderous roars, More and more beasts pounced on Lu Ming. The long spear of the primal chaos domain swept out and sent a group of mutated beasts flying. Then it stared at one of the mutated beasts and killed it in the same way as before. It's too slow to kill like this. Although I can slowly wear them down, I should be able to pass the 6th floating platform in the end. However, it will take a long time. Lu Ming frowned. He was thinking of ways to strengthen the power of the primal chaos domain. Weapons could not be brought in here, and there was no Jinyuan in the area. As such, there were many battle techniques that could not be used. Thus, one could only rely on one's dominion. Wait, 13 strikes of storing power. Suddenly, Lu Ming had an idea. Although 13 strikes of storing power was a domain-type martial technique, the spear domain martial technique, it was more about the technique of exerting force. The technique of the spear and the technique of exerting force in the spear domain could allow one to erupt with 2, 5, or even 10 strands of force at the same time, increasing one's might greatly. Then, could he use this technique of exerting force in the primal chaos domain? Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He did as he thought of it. Buzz! Lu Ming's long spear shook and struck a heavenly Dao mutated beast, sending it flying. No, that's not right. Lu Ming muttered. That strike earlier did not erupt with much force. After all, the primal chaos domain is different from the spear domain. However, the primal chaos domain contains the spear domain. It will definitely work. Let's give it another try. Lu Ming kept thinking. The long spear in his hand did not stop, continuously striking. Buzz! 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 The long spear of the primal chaos domain kept striking, sending the heavenly Dao mutated beasts flying. Lu Ming kept experimenting. Time passed quickly. Soon, 2 hours had passed. However, Lu Ming was still fighting with the heavenly Dao mutated beasts. Below the floating platform, a group of people was waiting in astonishment. What's going on? Lu Ming is on the 6th floating platform. There's no golden light on his body. He should still be fighting with the mutated beasts in the heavenly battlefield. Why hasn't it ended after 2 hours? That's right. What's going on? If he failed, he would have been sent flying. It's very likely that he's holding on. He bet 500,000 contribution points with Silver City. He doesn't want to lose, so he gritted his teeth and held on to kill more mutated beasts. That should be the case. Many people guessed. Silver City clenched his fists tightly. He was nervous. This was related to his 500,000 contribution points. In the heavenly battlefield, Lu Ming was still fighting with the mutated beasts. Buzz! With a jolt of his spear, he struck one of the mutated beasts, causing a violent burst of energy to burst forth. Bang! The beast suddenly exploded and vanished into thin air. It's a success. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. The spear just now was a success. In an instant, 4 types of force erupted. The force was shocking, and it defeated the heavenly Dao mutated beast. Swoosh! The 4 types of force went through the tip of the spear and pierced the mutated beast's body. The mutated beast was directly pierced and killed. 4 types of force. That's enough. A smile emerged on Lu Ming's face. The long spear moved freely. As long as the mutated beasts were swept, smashed, or pierced, they would die in one blow. In just a few minutes, all 108 mutated beasts were killed by Lu Ming. On the 6th floating platform, Lu Ming's body suddenly emitted a golden light. Lu Ming had passed the 6th floating platform. Damn it! Silver City clenched his fists tightly. His eyes were incomparably gloomy. How could this be? Silver City's other companions shouted in disbelief. Lu Ming was only a level 3 domain expert. It was unbelievable that he could pass the 6th floating platform. This had never happened before in the history of Dragon God Valley. Senior Brother Silver City, what should we do? Are we really going to give Lu Ming 500,000 contribution points? A young man asked Silver City. 500,000 contribution points? He's dreaming. Silver City gritted his teeth and muttered. 500,000 contribution points was equivalent to the price of half a sacred weapon. Right now, he only had slightly more than 500,000 contribution points. How could he possibly give them to Lu Ming? But a young man hesitated. Junior brothers, did Lu Ming injure you before? Then I'll have to trouble you again. Silver City looked at the three young men who were injured by Lu Ming's roar and said coldly. As soon as he finished speaking, 3 types of force silently struck the 3 young men. The 3 of them groaned, and blood flowed out from the corner of their mouths. I've injured your internal organs, so you'll have to maintain this injury. Do you understand? Silver City instructed. Yes, yes. The 3 young men quickly nodded. Although they were angry, they didn't dare to disobey. Do you think it's that easy to get my contribution points? Chapter 1501. On the 6th floating platform, Lu Ming continued to refine the heaven path mark. After refining the heaven path mark, Lu Ming opened his eyes and smiled. Peak level 3. Lu Ming muttered. His chaotic territory had finally reached peak level 3. The 200,000 origin stones were worth it. However, it wasn't easy to break through to level 4. A level 4 territory was equivalent to a middle martial king's territory. There was a hurdle that wasn't easy to cross. Lu Ming stood up and looked at the 7th floating platform. He then turned around and looked at Silver City. Lu Ming didn't continue to go up. Instead, he took a step forward and landed below the floating platform. He could continue to go up the floating platforms as long as he paid the origin stones. He had to get the 500,000 contribution points from Silver City first. I passed the 6th floating platform, but you didn't. I've won the bet. Hand over 500,000 contribution points. Lu Ming looked at Silver City and said, 500,000 contribution points? What? 500,000 contribution points. Silver City pretended to be dumb as he sneered. Lu Ming frowned. Silver City was obviously trying to renege on the bet by pretending to be dumb. Are you trying to act dumb? Hee. There are many people here who can be witnesses. Lu Ming said, Witnesses? Why didn't I hear it? I didn't hear it either. A few of Silver City's companions said coldly. Did you hear it? Silver City's cold eyes looked at the others. Many people's faces changed, and they looked fearful. Silver City was Yin Feng's cousin. Silver City's grandfather was the younger brother of Silver Dragon Valley Master. In Silver Dragon Valley, he had a strong backing, and many people didn't dare to offend him. Although some people didn't like Silver City's character, they looked away and didn't say anything. Hee. Lu Ming sneered as a ray of light flashed in his eyes. I can be a witness. Just now, the 2 of you did make a bet. It was 500,000 contribution points. At this moment, a timid voice sounded. Swoosh! His words caused Blizzard Silver City and his companions to look towards the source of the voice. Lu Ming also looked over. It was a young woman. Her figure was petite, but her skin was fair. Her appearance was delicate and pretty, and she was extremely cute. At this moment, when Silver City's gaze swept over them, their faces turned pale, their bodies trembled, and they could not help but retreat. Little girl, what did you say? Yin Ching said coldly. I don't want to lie. You 2 did make a bet just now. Although the young woman was very scared, she still spoke. Good, very good. The sharpness in Yin Ching's eyes intensified. Murderous intent filled the air. What? When others speak the truth, you want to kill them. This is the style of the Silver Dragon Valley, just like Yin Feng. Looks like I have to report this to the Dragon Punishing Palace. Lu Ming sneered and took a step forward, standing in front of the young woman. Also, 500,000 contribution points. Hurry up and hand it over. Lu Ming continued. Haha, Lu Ming, you're really naive. I was just casually mentioning the bet before, but you took it seriously. We didn't even sign anything. Yin Ching quibbled. So, everyone in the Silver Dragon Valley is like this. From top to bottom, they're all despicable people. What a disgrace to the divine Dragon Valley. In my opinion, the Silver Dragon Valley is purely a malignant tumor of the divine Dragon Valley. Sooner or later it will be removed. Lu Ming shook his head and sneered. How dare you? Who do you think you are? How dare you criticize the matters of the Silver Dragon Valley? A young man beside Yin Ching shouted. Lu Ming, you're the lawless one. You have no respect for the law, and you're harming your fellow disciples. Previously, you injured 3 of my junior brothers for no reason. I'm going to settle this with you. Yin Ching shouted and pointed at the 3 young men beside him. The 3 young men looked pale, and their auras were weak. The coldness in Lu Ming's eyes intensified. Previously, his shout had injured the 3 of them, but it was only a minor injury. With the strength of their spiritual bodies, those minor injuries would have healed by now. But now, they looked as if they were seriously injured. It was obvious that they did it on purpose. Lu Ming, you injured the disciples of the Silver Dragon Valley for no reason. How should you be punished? Now, hand over 500,000 contribution points as medical fees. Yin Ching shouted in a domineering manner. Who are you? How dare you injure the disciples of the Silver Dragon Valley? At this moment, a cold voice resounded from a floating platform. A figure floated down. It was a cold-looking young man. Senior brother Ding Mao. Yin Ching and the others were overjoyed when they saw the young man. They quickly greeted him. Senior brother Ding Mao, it's Lu Ming. He injured the 3 disciples of the Silver Dragon Valley for no reason. I'm going to ask him to pay for the medical fees, Yin Ching said. Lu Ming. When Ding Mao heard Lu Ming's name, a cold light flashed in his eyes. Murderous intent flashed across his eyes as he said coldly, Humph! How can he be so lawless just because he's the direct disciple of the Cloud Dragon Valley Master? Ask him to pay for the medical fees and bring him to the Dragon Punishing Palace. Yes, Yin Ching replied. He was emboldened. He stared at Lu Ming and said, Lu Ming, hurry up and hand over 500,000 contribution points. Follow us to the Dragon Punishing Palace. Some people at the side. The Silver Dragon Valley had gone too far. Originally, Yin Ching and Lu Ming had made a bet of 500,000 contribution points. In the end, Lu Ming won. Not only did Yin Ching not pay up, but they even pinned a big hat on Lu Ming. They wanted Lu Ming to hand over 500,000 contribution points and bring Lu Ming to the Dragon Punishing Palace. How despicable! However, they could only think about it in their hearts. So what if they were despicable? Who asked Yin Ching and the others to be so powerful? What would Lu Ming do? Hand over or not? Many people looked at Lu Ming and guessed what Lu Ming would do. Haha. Lu Ming wore a calm expression, but the flicker in his eyes grew sharper. If you don't hand over 500,000 contribution points today, don't even think about leaving this place. Lu Ming said in a cold tone. The hearts of many shuddered. How arrogant! Lu Ming ignored the nonsense that the Silver City had said earlier. He wanted the Silver City to hand over 500,000 contribution points. Ding Mao's figure emitted a cold glow as he said, This guy is too stubborn. Take him down first. Bang, bang, bang. Yin Ching and the others unleashed powerful auras. Lu Ming, how dare you kneel down at once? Yin Ching yelled as he unleashed his cultivation and threw a punch in Lu Ming's direction. Yin Ching's cultivation had reached the peak of the 5th layer Martial Dominator realm, while his domain had reached the 6th layer, granting him a shocking strength. The other 2 young men were 5th layer Martial Dominators with powerful strength too. You're the one kneeling down. Lu Ming's gaze turned cold. 2 rays of black light pierced out like divine swords, entering Silver City's body and bombarding his soul. After cultivating for a period of time, Lu Ming's godly sword technique had become extremely shocking. Chapter 1502. Bang! Lu Ming lashed out with his palm, causing the chaotic domain to form a giant palm print that crushed onto Yincheng's figure. Following a thud, Yincheng immediately dropped to his knees before Lu Ming. Previously, he had asked Lu Ming to kneel down, but now he had knelt down himself. Following this, Lu Ming threw out 2 punches in succession. The terrifying force sent the other 2 young men flying, causing them to vomit mouthfuls of blood. At that instant, 2 of the young men with cultivation of the 5th layer martial dominator realm from the Silver Dragon Valley were sent flying, while the last one knelt before Lu Ming. The others nearby were dumbfounded. Lu Ming had grown stronger. His strength was even stronger than when he had killed Yin Feng. How shocking! Was he really a cultivator from a desolated island? He was unbelievably strong. They finally knew why the valley leader of the Cloud Dragon Valley had recruited Lu Ming as his disciple. The valley leader had recognized Lu Ming's talent. Buzz! At that instant, a shocking aura burst out from Ding Mao's body, causing a terrifying pressure to crush Lu Ming's figure. Bang! It felt like a huge mountain was crushing onto Lu Ming's figure. 7th layer martial dominator realm. Lu Ming's heart shuddered slightly. Ding Mao was a 7th layer martial dominator realm expert, a high-ranked martial dominator realm expert. Lu Ming, how bold of you to injure 3 disciples of the Silver Dragon Valley, and now you're attacking again. This person should be punished severely. I'll cripple your cultivation and hand you over to the Dragon Punishing Palace. Ding Mao snapped coldly as he took a step forward. A dragon's roar could be heard from his body. Whoosh! Following this, Ding Mao grabbed at Lu Ming's figure with his claw. In the process, Ding Mao's palm and arm emitted a brilliant silver glow as a layer of silver dragon scales appeared on them. 13 accumulating blows. A long spear of the martial dominator realm appeared in Lu Ming's hand. With a shudder, the spear transformed into a beam of light that pierced forward. Ding! The spear stabbed into Ding Mao's palm. Lu Ming felt an incomparably terrifying energy surge toward the spear, causing it to bend slightly. But in an instant, 10 bursts of power erupted from the long spear, forming an incomparably sharp aura, wanting to pierce through Ding Mao's palm. Ding Mao's expression changed, and he roared, his terrifying power exploding out. Bang! Lu Ming was shaken by this force, and his body flew out. He crashed heavily into the wall of a snow mountain at the edge, causing the snow mountain to explode with a rumbling sound. But at the same time, Ding Mao also took a step back. 7th layer of the martial emperor realm, as expected of a high-level martial emperor. How powerful! With a thought, Lu Ming felt the blood and qi in his body churning. He almost spat out a mouthful of blood. This brat, killing intent, exploded from Ding Mao's body. His hand was trembling slightly. The dragon scales on his palm had been shattered, and a trace of blood could be seen. His palm was almost pierced through by Lu Ming's spear. Kill! Roar! A dragon's roar could be heard. The silver glow on Ding Mao's body became even brighter, as if he had turned into a silver dragon, lunging at Lu Ming. At that instant, a giant hammer flew toward them from the entrance of the floating platform. The hammer tore through the air with a terrifying roar, aiming at Ding Mao. Ding Mao's expression changed greatly. He could not care less about Lu Ming. He let out a roar and threw his palms at the hammer. Dong! Dong! Ding Mao's palms collided with the hammer, resulting in 2 deafening vibrations. The terrifying sound waves caused many of the weaker cultivators to turn pale and retreat. Whoosh! The hammer was sent flying by Ding Mao, but Ding Mao himself was also sent flying back 100 meters. Only then did he land on the ground, his hands trembling. Bang! Bang! From the direction of the entrance, a tall and sturdy figure rushed over and caught the iron hammer. Every step he took caused the ground to rumble. How arrogant of the Silver Dragon Valley! A 7th layer martial emperor dares to attack my junior brother. a third-layer martial emperor. How embarrassing! The bulky figure spoke with a booming voice. The person was a young man with a bulky figure who was 2 heads taller than Lu Ming. His muscles bulged like a ferocious dragon. He was holding a giant hammer in his hand. However, the hammer was quite unique, as its handle was longer than a person's body, while its head was the size of a water jar, giving it a shocking appearance. "Tianchu, it's you." Ding Mao glanced at the young man and said coldly, "Tianchu, 7th senior brother." Lu Ming's heart shuddered. The Valley Master of the Cloud Dragon Valley had only recruited 3 core disciples in the past 10 years. They were him, Xuaningxin, and Tianchu, Lu Ming's 7th senior brother. "It's your grandpa, Tianchu." Tianchu let out a grin before glancing at Lu Ming and saying, "So you're my 9th junior brother, Lu Ming? Impressive. Thanks for your help, 7th senior brother." Lu Ming let out a smile. "Haha, don't mention it. I'll teach these sons of bitches a lesson." Tianchu let out a grin and glanced at Ding Mao with a ferocious look. Come. Do you think you're that impressive? Let your grandpa Tianchu have some fun with you. Tianchu, if you dare to interfere, I'll take you down too." Ding Mao said coldly. "How are you going to take me down?" Tianchu wore a ferocious look as his muscles bulged as he stomped his foot on the ground. Bang! Tianchu's figure sprang toward Ding Mao like a ferocious dragon, while the giant hammer in his hand was swung in his direction. Rumble! It was as if the giant hammer had penetrated the rift, resulting in a terrifying gust of wind. A silver glow burst out from Ding Mao's body as a layer of silver dragon scales appeared on his body. A pair of silver gloves appeared on his hands, the gloves of a martial dominator weapon. Silver dragon battle fist. Ding Mao uttered a roar as he lashed out with both fists. Dong! Ding Mao's fist collided with the giant hammer, causing the sky to tremble vigorously. Tianchu and Ding Mao's figures shuddered violently as they were knocked backward. Following this, they uttered furious roars and collided with one another once again. Peak 5th layer martial dominator realm with a 6th grade domain. Senior brother Tianchu, such a powerful strength. Lu Ming observed from the side and was secretly astounded by Tianchu's strength. A cultivation of the peak 5th layer martial dominator realm with a 6th grade domain was able to fight against Ding Mao, who was a 7th layer martial dominator realm. It seems like none of my senior brothers and sisters are easy to deal with. Lu Ming wore a smile. Kill. At that instant, Tianchu let out a roar as he became more excited as the battle progressed. It was as if he had transformed into a ferocious dragon as he lashed out at Ding Mao with his giant hammer. Gradually, Ding Mao was at a disadvantage as he was suppressed by Tianchu. Tianchu has become stronger. The people of the Cloud Dragon Valley are indeed crazy. Indeed, it's too terrifying. That Xuaningxin, Lu Ming, and the Cloud Dragon Valley are all crazy. Their strength is too shocking. I've heard that none of the 9 disciples of the Cloud Dragon Valley Master are easy to deal with. The people of the Dragon Valley began to discuss among themselves. Chapter 1503. Tianchu had completely gained the upper hand in the battle. Bang! Following a loud explosion, Ding Mao was sent flying by Tianchu's hammer. He slid a few hundred meters on the ground, leaving a long ditch behind him. Ding Mao's arms trembled vigorously as a trail of blood ran down from his lips. Ding Mao was injured. He was no match for Tianchu. A high-level martial emperor of the 7th layer of the martial emperor realm was no match for a peak martial emperor. Many people looked at Tianchu in shock. Lu Ming, a 3rd layer martial dominator, could easily crush a 5th layer martial dominator. And now, Tianchu, with the cultivation of the peak 5th layer martial dominator, was suppressing a 7th layer martial dominator. The disciples of the Cloudy Void Valley were utterly terrifying. Is this all you've got? So this is the strength of a 7th layer martial dominator? How ordinary. The people of the Silver Dragon Valley are arrogant and disrespectful, but they are all trash. Tian Chue swung his giant hammer, causing it to emit a disdainful sound. You! Ding Mao wore an unpleasant expression, but he could not refute it. The truth was that he was no match for Tian Chue. The faces of the disciples of the Silver Dragon Valley reddened, but no one dared to say a word. Lu Ming, I'll let you go this time. Let's go. Ding Mao glared at Lu Ming coldly. With a cold snort, he turned and walked toward the exit of the floating platform. The disciples of the Silver Dragon Valley, including Yin Cheng, were planning to leave too. Wait, Lu Ming snapped. Ding Mao halted and glanced at Lu Ming. What do you want? Do you really think I'm afraid of you? I'm not talking to you. I'm looking for him. Lu Ming glanced at Yin Cheng and said, You owe me 500,000 contribution points. Pay me the full amount before you leave. In your dreams, Yin Cheng yelled furiously. Previously, he had been forced to his knees by Lu Ming with a single blow. It was such a great humiliation that he could not wait to skin Lu Ming alive. Don't even think about it. You lost 500,000 contribution points to me in a bet, and you want to go back on your word? I've said it before. If you don't pay up today, don't even think about leaving. Lu Ming's voice was cold. I told you, I was just saying it casually, Yin Cheng said coldly. Ha ha ha, just saying? So what you Silver Dragon Valley people say is all bullshit. Fine, if you admit it, everyone in the Silver Dragon Valley is spouting nonsense, and I'll pretend it never happened. Lu Ming said. Yin Cheng was tongue-tied. How could he admit to this? This wasn't just about him, it was about the whole Silver Dragon Valley. The Valley Lord, the elders, and some geniuses were in the Silver Dragon Valley. How could he represent the Silver Dragon Valley? If he really admitted it, he wouldn't be able to stay in the Silver Dragon Valley in the future. A bet? Are there any witnesses? Ding Mao said coldly. Everyone here is a witness. Lu Ming scanned the scene. Oh, is that so? Who's a witness? Ding Mao scanned the crowd and revealed a hint of threat. Since you're a witness, you'd better not lie. Tell the truth. Tian Chue said from the side. He scanned the crowd like a savage beast and said, If I find out who's lying, my hammer is too slippery and I can't hold it properly. Don't blame me if such a big hammer suddenly falls from above your head when you're outside. As he spoke, Tian Chue's hand slipped and the water tank-like hammer fell to the ground. Boom! The ground rumbled and a deep pit was formed. Cracks spread out like a spider web. Many people gasped. The ground was very hard, but it was terrifying that Tian Chue's hammer could make such a dent in the ground. The weight of the hammer was too shocking. If it landed on a person's body, the person's bones would definitely be broken. Those with a weak cultivation would be smashed to death. They had a bet. A timid voice was heard. It was the same timid young lady from before. This made Ding Mao's eyes turn cold. That's right. They bet on who could step onto the higher floating platform. The higher the platform, the winner. In the end, Lu Ming won. That's true. At this moment, the others started to speak. Firstly, they were afraid of Tian Chue. Secondly, the people from Silver Dragon Valley were too overbearing and they were unhappy. When the others at the scene spoke, Yin Cheng's face turned ghastly. If you're willing to bet, you must be willing to admit defeat. Hand over your contribution points. Otherwise, you can stand still and take a blow for my hammer. Tian Chue grinned. Yin Cheng trembled. What a joke. Taking a blow from Tian Chue? Wouldn't that be courting death? Since you've lost, hand over your contribution points. At this moment, Ding Mao spoke coldly. He had suffered some injuries in the battle with Tian Chue and needed to go back to heal. Moreover, it was Yin Cheng's contribution points, not his. He wanted to leave this place quickly so as not to embarrass himself. Yin Cheng was about to cry. However, since Ding Mao had spoken, he had to hand over his contribution points today, even if he didn't want to. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to leave this place. In the end, Yin Cheng had no choice but to transfer 500,000 contribution points to Lu Ming's Identity Jade token. Lu Ming's Identity Jade token had an extra 500,000 contribution points. Inching's heart was bleeding. He only had 500,000 contribution points in total. Now he was left with only a fraction. Let's go. Ding Mao snorted coldly and left with the rest of the Silver Dragon Valley. Thank you, seventh senior brother, for your help. Lu Ming cupped his fists at Tian Chui. Haha, we're brothers. Why are you being so polite? Tian Chui laughed. When I returned, I heard about junior brother's deeds. You killed Yin Zheng's precious grandson in front of him. How satisfying. You're a real man. I wanted to look for you for a drink, but you weren't around. Hence, I came to the floating platform to cultivate. I didn't expect to bump into you, haha. Tian Chui laughed heartily. Isn't it easy to drink? I just earned a lot of contribution points. I can drink at any time. Lu Ming laughed. Tian Chui's character was similar to Yan Kuangtu's. Lu Ming had a good impression of him. All right, I'll be waiting, Tian Chui said. At this moment, Lu Ming walked towards the timid girl and said, Thank you for speaking out earlier. May I know your name? I'm Su Lei, the young girl said. Her voice was still timid and very Burmese. After chatting for a while, Lu Ming knew that Su Lei was a disciple of Purple Dragon Valley. Junior brother, they said that you won the bet against Yincheng. Which platform did you step on? Tian Chui asked curiously. I just passed the 6th platform and came down, Lu Ming said. Past the 6th platform? Can you continue? Tian Chui asked curiously. I should be able to, Lu Ming said. He had integrated the chaotic domain into the 13 strikes, which greatly increased his power. It was quite easy for him to pass the 6th platform. Lu Ming reckoned that he should be able to handle it if he stepped on the 7th platform. You can step on the 7th platform with a level 3 domain. That's sick. Chapter 1504. Lu Ming smiled bitterly as he rubbed his nose. Isn't the other party a freak to be able to suppress Ding Mao with his cultivation of level 5 Martial King Realm? Junior brother Lu Ming, why don't we have a competition to see who can step onto more floating platforms and kill more heavenly law mutated beasts? What do you think? Tian Chui's eyes were filled with intense battle intent. I've long heard that senior brother Tian Chui likes to battle and is bloodthirsty. It seems like it's true. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat as he nodded and said, Sure. Then let's do it. Tian Chui was excited. Lu Ming nodded and went to the counter to pay another 200,000 mid-grade origin stones. Every time he stepped onto a floating platform, he would have to pay 200,000 mid-grade origin stones. It was indeed expensive, but the effect was also shocking. To Lu Ming, it was definitely worth it. Of course, it wasn't worth it for those with low domain level to come here because they would be blasted off after stepping onto 1 or 2 floating platforms. Their harvest might not even be worth 200,000 mid-grade origin stones. Those who came here to cultivate were usually above level 4 or those who had reached a bottleneck in their domain. After Lu Ming paid the origin stones, he and Tian Chui each chose a floating platform and stepped onto the first floating platform. Just like before, the two of them sat cross-legged and were enveloped by inscriptions. Lu Ming wasn't in a hurry as he killed the heavenly law mutated beasts and comprehended the chaotic domain. Tian Chui did the same. Their speed was almost the same. They passed through the first floating platform at almost the same time and stepped onto the second floating platform. Then the third floating platform, they went up one floating platform after another. After passing through the 6th floating platform, Lu Ming's chaotic domain had reached the limit of level 3 and was only a step away from level 4. Next, he could start to break through to level 4. The 7th floating platform, level 7 domain, how strong will it be? Standing on the 6th floating platform, Lu Ming muttered, Haha, junior brother, I'll go first. At the side, Tian Chui laughed and took a step forward, stepping onto the 7th floating platform. Lu Ming smiled and stepped onto the 7th floating platform. He then sat down cross-legged and inscriptions covered Lu Ming. In the next moment, Lu Ming appeared on the Heavenly Law battlefield. Roar! A Heavenly Dao, rare, beast appeared. It had 7 golden marks on its forehead, and a powerful aura surged toward Qin Nan. Whoosh! In the next moment, the Heavenly Law beast arrived in front of Lu Ming. Boom! A spear appeared in Zhang Xian's hand, and with a sweep, it landed on the body of the mutated beast. Boom! The exotic beast was immediately sent flying, falling a few hundred meters away. However, it immediately shook its head and stood up again, completely fine. So strong! Lu Ming's heart trembled. A grade 7 Heaven's Path mutant beast was far stronger than a grade 6 one. Even if he were to use his full strength, he still wouldn't be able to kill it. Roar! Roar! At this time, more Heavenly Law beasts appeared and pounced on Lu Ming. Wang! His long spear vibrated as Lu Ming charged into the horde of strange beasts. Bang! 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 Zhang Xian's long spear swayed, forming numerous spear shadows that continuously struck the Heavenly Law beasts. The Heavenly Law beasts were sent flying like sandbags, but they were all fine. They shook their heads and stood up again, pouncing on Lu Ming. Whoosh! The long spear turned into a rainbow light, and with a burst of power, it pierced through a Heavenly Law beast. However, this Heavenly Law beast wasn't dead yet, and it continued to entangle Lu Ming. When the other Heavenly Law beasts attacked, Lu Ming could only retreat. However, he was still scratched by one of the mutated beasts, and he felt a tearing pain. The long spear that pierced through the Heavenly Law beast turned back into the primal chaos domain and dissipated. Then it condensed in Lu Ming's hand. At the same time, 7 golden marks flew into Lu Ming's body. The mutated beast that was pierced through was finally dead. This won't do. I'll be injured if I kill one. It'll be very difficult for me to get to the 7th floating platform. Lu Ming pondered in his heart. If he used this method of exchanging injuries, he would be killed before he could kill all the mutated beasts. Once he was killed here, his consciousness would return to his body, and it would be equivalent to a failure. The 13 strikes of storing power isn't enough. It's only equivalent to the 2nd level. If it's equivalent to the 3rd or 4th level, I'll be able to burst out with the power of the 6th or 8th level. Then, passing this floating platform won't be a problem. Lu Ming thought. Lu Ming wasn't in a hurry to kill the mutated beasts. Instead, he used the mutated beasts to cultivate the 13 strikes of storing power, and slowly integrated the 13 strikes of storing power into the primal chaos domain. The mutated beasts were sent flying one by one, but they stood up again. The long spear was like a dragon, and the sky was filled with spear shadows. More than 100 mutated beasts attacked, but they couldn't break through Lu Ming's defense. After an unknown period of time, bang! A mutated beast was swept away by Lu Ming's spear, and half of its body exploded. It stood up and swayed a few times before falling down again. 7 golden marks flew into Lu Ming's body. The 3rd level, the power of the 6th level. Lu Ming was overjoyed. The 13 strikes of storing power broke through again, and its power increased greatly. Originally, he had cultivated the 13 strikes of storing power to the 5th level and could unleash the power of the 10th level. Now that he was simply integrating it into the primal chaos domain, the difficulty was much lower and the speed was much faster. With a sweep of the spear, the power of the 6th level was stacked together, and the power suddenly increased by 6 times. Bang! One of the beasts was sent flying and exploded into pieces. Bang! Bang! Lu Ming's long spear was like a true dragon, constantly bombarding the mutated beasts. The mutated beasts were killed one by one, and densely packed golden marks flew towards Lu Ming and into Lu Ming's body. Not long after, when Lu Ming stabbed the last mutated beast with his spear, his consciousness returned to his body. Lu Ming opened his eyes and looked at Tian Chui. He realized that Tian Chui's body was emitting a golden light and was refining the golden marks. Tian Chui passed it earlier than Lu Ming. Lu Ming smiled. This was normal. After all, Tian Chui's domain had already reached the 6th level. Moreover, Tian Chui's domain was no small matter, and its power was very strong. It was normal for him to pass it earlier than him. Lu Ming immediately began to refine the heaven path imprint that he had obtained earlier. Half a day later, Lu Ming completely refined the heaven path imprint. I still haven't broken through. It seems that it's not easy to break through the 4th level domain. Lu Ming shook his head. He looked at Tian Chui and saw that Tian Chui was looking at him. Junior brother is really amazing. You can actually pass the 7th floating platform with a 3rd level domain. I'm impressed. Tian Chui grinned. Senior brother is the amazing one. I still lost to senior brother. Lu Ming smiled. Ha ha ha, junior brother. Do you still want to pass the 8th floating platform? If you want to pass the 8th floating platform, then I, your senior brother, will directly admit defeat to you. Tian Chui laughed straightforwardly. No. Lu Ming shook his head. Chapter 1505. After all, his chaotic domain was only at the 3rd level. Even if his attack power was strong, his defense would be weak. He would probably be killed after 1 or 2 attacks. Lu Ming wasn't confident that he wouldn't be attacked by 108 mutated beasts. Unless his chaotic domain reached the 4th level, he wouldn't have the confidence to challenge the 8 floating platforms. Senior brother, I need some time to digest it. You can continue. Lu Ming clasped his fists and said, Ha, go. Tian Chui laughed. Lu Ming jumped down from the floating platform and flew towards the snow mountain. He had already challenged the heaven-span floating platform twice, absorbing and refining a large number of heavenly Tao imprints. These heavenly Tao imprints were refined in one go, and he needed time to properly digest them. When he stepped onto the heaven-span floating platform again, the effects would be much better. If he kept challenging the floating platform and absorbing the heavenly Tao imprints, not only would the effect not be good, there might even be problems. Hence, caves were opened on the snow mountain for the cultivators of the Dragon God Valley to digest and refine their heavenly Tao imprints. Lu Ming entered an empty cave, closed the door, and sat down cross-legged. His chaotic domain spread out as he quietly comprehended. A few days later, Lu Ming walked out of the cave and stepped on the floating platform again. Just like that, a month passed in the blink of an eye. After a month of hard work, his chaotic domain finally made a breakthrough and reached the 4th level. Its power increased greatly. This made Lu Ming sigh. The difficulty of breaking through his chaotic domain was indeed shocking. In a month, he had spent tens of millions of mid-grade origin stones, which were equivalent to 100,000 contribution points. Finally, his chaotic domain broke through. After the breakthrough, Lu Ming didn't leave and continued to cultivate on the floating platform. The chaotic domain had broken through to level 4, and its power had increased tremendously. Lu Ming had also integrated the 13 accumulated strikes perfectly into the chaotic domain. Every move could unleash an attack of tenfold. He had successfully cleared the 8th floating platform, and his cultivation speed had increased by a few notches. In the blink of an eye, another month passed. Lu Ming's chaotic domain gradually approached the peak of the 4th level. At this time, Lu Ming had no choice but to leave. That was because the floating platform was about to close. The floating platform required a large amount of energy to operate. Moreover, it had to be closed for maintenance every once in a while. Otherwise, the energy would be insufficient and the floating platform would have problems. It would be closed for 2 to 3 months. In fact, the floating platform would be closed for a few months after it was opened for 3 months. Junior brother, let's return to the Cloud Void Valley. Tian Chui walked to Lu Ming's side. For the past few months, Tian Chui had been cultivating on the floating platform. The aura on his body was getting stronger and stronger. The power of his domain was also getting more profound. Some time ago, he even broke through to level 7. Like Lu Ming, he had also cleared the 8th floating platform. Lu Ming smiled. The two of them flew towards the Cloud Dragon Valley together. They met Xuanningsin as soon as they returned to Cloud Space Valley. Xuanningsin gritted her teeth and stared at the two. "No, junior sister. We were about to go for a drink. We came back to call you," Tian Chui quickly quibbled. "Big Chui, don't call me junior sister. I'm not the youngest anymore. Lu Ming is the youngest. He's our junior brother." Xuanningsin glanced at Tian Chui and said. Lu Ming smiled bitterly and changed the topic. "Senior sister, you said you had something to ask us. What is it?" I almost forgot. I want to ask you to go to Tsang Mountain. The treasure sorting assembly will begin in less than 2 months. Many of the younger generation are rushing to Tsang Mountain." Xuanningsin said. "It's starting so soon. I almost forgot." Tian Chui scratched his head and smiled. "Treasure sorting assembly?" Lu Ming was puzzled. "Junior brother, you don't know yet. Let me tell you." Seeing the puzzled look on Lu Ming's face, Xuanningsin's interest was piqued. She acted like a senior sister and explained to Lu Ming. As the name suggests, the treasure sorting assembly of the Tsang province is to decide which sect will keep the 2 ancient treasures. Every 3 years, the 13 top sects of the Tsang province will gather in the Tsang Mountain and send out their younger generation to compete in a series of competitions. In the end, the sect that wins first place will continue to keep the 2 ancient treasures. After 3 years, the treasure sorting assembly will be held again to decide who will keep the 2 ancient treasures. Xuanningsin explained. Lu Ming was enlightened. So that was the case. It was held once every 3 years. Whoever was more powerful would be able to keep the 2 ancient treasures for another 3 years. I wonder what kind of treasure it is that the 13 top sects are so interested in it. Lu Ming asked. Xuanningsin said, "I heard that one of them is a fragment of the suppressing prison monument. A fragment of the suppressing prison monument." Lu Ming was shocked. Lu Ming had never thought that one of the treasures would be a fragment of the suppressing prison monument. Didn't the Heavenly Divinity sect have a fragment of the suppressing prison monument? Could it be that the sect that won last time was the Heavenly Divinity sect? Junior brother also knows about the fragment of the suppressing prison monument. Although the suppressing prison monument is a legendary treasure that is said to be able to suppress all evil, it's broken and can't exert much of its power. It's said that if all the fragments can be combined, there will be a great secret. There's another treasure that's the key. It's also the focus of all the sections. It's said that this treasure contains the secret to becoming a martial emperor. Xuanningsin said, "The secret to becoming a martial emperor." Lu Ming was even more shocked. That's right. It's a pity that these 2 treasures have been in the hands of the sects for so many years, but none of the sects have been able to obtain them. However, none of the sects would give up. They all want to keep the treasures in their hands and continue to study them. The Heavenly Divinity sect has won first place several times in a row. Xuanningsin, the Heavenly Divinity sect indeed. Lu Ming nodded his head as his eyes flickered passionately. He was more interested in the fragment of the suppressing prison monument, although he was curious about the other treasure that was related to the secret to becoming a martial emperor. He was not too interested in it. The sects had been studying it for so many years without any success. He did not think that he would be able to discover any secrets. "Senior sister, are we going to the Tsang Mountain to take part in the trial?" Lu Ming asked. "Of course not." Xuanningsin shook her head and said, "The sects have already decided on the candidates for the trial. They are all powerful cultivators among the younger generation. Some have even reached the peak martial dominator realm, while the weakest among them has reached the 7th layer martial dominator realm. Those below the 7th layer martial dominator realm are not qualified to take part in the trial. Even if they do, it's useless." Chapter 1506. Although those below the 7th layer martial dominator realm are not allowed to participate, many people will be there to spectate. After all, It's a grand event held once every 3 years in the Tsang continent. Some of the top geniuses of the Tsang continent will be there. It's beneficial for one's cultivation to witness their battles. Besides, the top 10 young geniuses of the Tsang continent will be there too, Xuanixin said. Her eyes flickered with a hint of yearning. The top 10 young geniuses of the Tsang continent? Lu Ming mumbled. The top 10 young geniuses of the Tsang continent were the strongest among the younger generation of the Tsang continent. It was said that each of their cultivations had reached the peak martial dominator realm, granting them a shocking strength. And I belonged to the younger generation. It was said that the top genius among the younger generation of the Dragon God Valley was one of the top 10 young geniuses. Let's go then. I'd like to witness it too. I missed it 3 years ago due to my cultivation. I can't afford to miss it this time, Tian Chui said. Sure, let's go. Lu Ming and Xuanixin nodded. The three flew out of the Cloud Dragon Valley. As they left the outer valley of the Dragon God Valley, Tian Chui waved his hand, summoning a sky-piercing shuttle. It was a long journey to the Tsang Mountain. Thus it was most suitable to take the sky-piercing shuttle. The three entered the sky-piercing shuttle. The interior of the sky-piercing shuttle was spacious, with runes flashing on its surface. There was a crystal glass at the front that reflected the scenery outside. Let's go. Tian Chui uttered a roar and activated the sky-piercing shuttle. Whoosh! The sky-piercing shuttle sprang into the sky at a shocking speed. Through the crystal glass, one could see endless mountains and rivers flashing past. It's so comfortable to have a sky-piercing shuttle, Lu Ming exclaimed in his heart. The sky-piercing shuttle could be activated with an origin stone. It was extremely convenient to cultivate and travel at the same time. Lu Ming had long wanted to buy one, but the price of a sky-piercing shuttle was too high. He could not afford even the lowest grade sky-piercing shuttle. Little junior brother, it will take you half a month to get to Tsang Mountain, even if you take the sky-piercing flying shuttle. You can practice here, Tian Chui said. Lu Ming nodded. The three of them each chose a spot and sat down cross-legged. Time flew, and 7 days passed in the blink of an eye. Boom! Suddenly, the void-piercing flying shuttle shook violently, and it stopped. Someone was attacking the sky-piercing shuttle. Lu Ming and the other two were shocked. They hurriedly ended their cultivation and looked outside through the crystal glass. In front of them, there were more than 10 figures standing there, looking at them coldly. Among the dozen or so figures, there were old men and middle-aged men. They all wore black robes and had fierce looks on their faces. You dare to attack my breaking sky shuttle? You're courting death. Tian Chui angrily shouted, opened the door of the flying shuttle and rushed out. Lu Ming and Xuanixin hurriedly followed him out. Who dares to attack my breaking sky shuttle? You're courting death. Tian Chui roared angrily as his ferocious gaze swept over the dozen people. So it's just a few brats and chicks. Haha, our luck is not bad. Now hand over the piercing sky shuttle and scram. A burly man shouted. It turned out that they were here to rob the piercing sky shuttle. Trying to rob my breaking sky shuttle. Tian Chui stared at the burly man coldly. Nonsense, didn't you hear what I said? Piss off at once and leave your storage rings behind. Otherwise, you'll all die here. The burly man snapped as a powerful aura was emitted from his body. 7th layer martial dominator realm. This burly man possessed a cultivation of the 7th layer martial dominator realm. No wonder he did not treat them seriously. The people behind the burly man were not weak either. They were all at least 4th layer martial dominator realm. Leader, why waste your time talking to them? Just kill them. That chick is not bad. Leave her for us to enjoy. Behind the burly man, a skinny middle-aged man's eyes flickered with murderous intent as he glanced at Xuanixin. Courting death, junior brothers and sisters. Leave this guy to me. I'll leave the rest to you, Tian Chui said. Saying this, A giant hammer appeared in his hand as he walked toward the burly man with a ferocious look. A fifth-layer martial dominator realm cultivator dares to challenge me? Since you're courting death, I'll grant your wish. A giant saber appeared in the burly man's hand. He took a step forward and appeared above Tian Chue before slashing at him. You're the one who's going to die. Tian Chue snapped furiously as he swung his giant hammer at the burly man. Clang! The giant hammer and the saber collided, resulting in a loud explosion. The burly man's body shuddered violently as he was sent flying a few hundred meters in the air. How is this possible? The burly man yelled in disbelief. His opponent was only a fifth-layer martial dominator realm cultivator, but he was able to send him flying with a single blow. He could even feel his arm trembling, causing him to almost vomit blood. 2 months ago, at the sky-towering floating platform, Tian Chue was already able to suppress Ding Mao. Even though they were both at the 7th-layer martial dominator realm, Ding Mao was obviously stronger than the burly man. Furthermore, Tian Chue's domain had now reached the 7th layer. Thus his strength was even stronger. He could easily defeat the burly man. That's all you've got? I haven't even used half of my strength. Die! Tian Chue charged at the burly man with his giant hammer. Let's go together. The burly man yelled. Kill! Instantly, the other cultivators unleashed their auras and charged at Tian Chue. Die! Xuanixin took a step forward and appeared in front of a 6th-layer martial dominator realm expert. She threw a punch forward, which shattered the expert's defense and blasted him into pieces. Meanwhile, Lu Ming dashed forward. Whoosh! Whoosh! A long spear appeared in Lu Ming's hand. With a shudder, 7 or 8 spear rays were fired, each with the strength of a 10th-layer attack. Unstoppable, unstoppable! The 8 cultivators, regardless of whether they were at the 4th layer, 5th layer, or 6th layer martial dominator realm, were all pierced through by Lu Ming's spear rays, killing them in the air. Devour! Next, Lu Ming clenched his left fist in the air, and a terrifying devouring power erupted, shrouding these corpses. The blood and vital essence of the other party were all devoured by Lu Ming. They turned into dried corpses and fell to the ground. Although Lu Ming's cultivation was still at the 3rd layer martial dominator realm, he had reached the 4th layer martial dominator realm. Coupled with the terrifying strength of the 13 stored strikes, it was easy for him to kill ordinary 6th layer martial dominators. Lu Ming activated his devouring power and continued to refine the energy in his body. His cultivation was rising rapidly. During this period, he had been cultivating the chaotic territory and was about to reach the peak of the 4th layer. Therefore, his cultivation was rising rapidly. While Lu Ming was refining the energy, Xuanixin had also finished her battle. The others were all killed by Xuanixin. What a powerful combat strength! Xuanixin's cultivation was also at the peak of the 5th layer martial dominator realm, but her combat strength was astonishing. She could kill ordinary 6th layer martial dominators as easily as cutting vegetables. Don't waste it. Lu Ming unleashed his devouring power and devoured all the blood essences of the people Xuanixin had killed. Chapter 1507. Boom! At this time, the battle between Tian Chue and the burly man was nearing its end. Tian Chue's attacks were wild, and the burly man had no strength to resist at all. He was bombarded by Tian Chue until he spat out large mouthfuls of blood. In the end, he was smashed to the ground by Tian Chue, creating a huge pit. Spare me, spare me! The burly man looked around and screamed when he found that the people he brought were all killed. He knew that he had kicked an iron plate. These people were all monsters. You wanted to steal my shuttle and kill us, and now you want me to let you go? Ridiculous! Tian Chue revealed a sinister smile. The burly man felt a chill in his heart and shouted, "There's a reason why I wanted to steal your shuttle. It's because we found a place where a great treasure has appeared. But we need a shuttle to enter." "A great treasure has appeared?" Tian Chue, Xuanxin and Lu Ming were stunned. That's right. As long as you promise to let me go, I'll tell you the location of the great treasure, the burly man shouted. Oh, it's true. Don't lie to me. Tian Chui's eyes were sharp. I swear that I won't lie to you. But you have to promise not to kill me, the burly man said. Okay, I promise not to kill you, I swear. Tian Chui immediately swore that if the burly man told him the location, he would not kill him. Half a day's journey from here to NATO, there's a lake called Qilong Lake. Legend has it that a powerful true dragon used to live there. Some time ago, there was a deafening dragon roar coming from Qilong Lake. The burly man said, "A powerful true dragon is residing here?" The three of them were stunned and curious. One had to know that among the three of them, there was also a pure-blooded true dragon. What does the dragon roar of Qilong Lake have to do with the shuttle? Tian Chui asked. That's because there's a strong murderous aura around the periphery of Qilong Lake. Without a powerful defensive treasure, it's difficult to rush in. The shuttle has amazing defensive power and speed, so it's definitely able to rush in safely, the burly man said. Now, I've told you everything I know. Can you let me go? The burly man said. Bang! As soon as the burly man finished speaking, a fist bombarded his dantian, piercing through his dantian and shattering his spiritual spirit. It was Xuanxin. You're not trustworthy, the burly man roared, filled with indignation. I promised not to kill you, but my junior sister didn't promise not to kill you. Tian Chui smiled sinisterly. The burly man's life. Calm. Lu Ming smiled faintly and did not mind. In the martial arts world, the strong preyed on the weak. This was especially so in Yuanlu. A soft-hearted person would not be able to go far. The devouring power erupted and devoured the energy of the burly man's blood essence. What a powerful secret. Tian Chui. He thought that Lu Ming was using a secret skill. Lu Ming smiled and did not explain. Tian Chui asked, That's what I was thinking. Lu Ming said, Of course. Xuanxin said, Great, haha, let's go. Tian Chui said with a smile. The three of them boarded the void-piercing flying shuttle and flew towards the north at top speed. Lu Ming sat with his legs crossed, refining the energy in his body. The energy of more than 10 fourth-layer Martial Royal Realm experts, including a 7th-layer Martial Royal Realm expert, was constantly being converted into Lu Ming's true force. Lu Ming's true force continued to grow. Soon, after refining the energy, Lu Ming's cultivation had improved and reached the late-stage 3rd-layer Martial Royal Realm. They had arrived at their destination, the Dragon Lake. In front of them, the heavens and earth were filled with a thick black mist, which was the murderous aura. If a martial artist were to enter the mist, they would be corroded by the murderous aura, causing them to go crazy. In the worst case, their souls would be destroyed and they would die on the spot. Look, there are others. Through the crystal glass, they saw some figures standing outside the murderous aura, observing from afar. Some of them glanced in their direction with greedy eyes. Whoosh! Whoosh! A few figures tore through the sky and flew toward them. One of them was even more imperious. He waved his hand, causing a giant palm to grab at the flying shuttle. It was obvious that he was trying to rob them of their flying shuttle, just like the others they had encountered before. Humph! I'm too lazy to play with you. Tian Chui harumphed as he activated the flying shuttle. With a whoosh, the flying shuttle dashed forward and destroyed the palm, before dashing into the murderous aura. The cultivators came to a stop unwillingly. The flying shuttle flew straight into the murderous aura. Look, there are other flying shuttles too. Xuanxin glanced outside and said, Lu Ming and the rest also saw it. Not far away from them, there was also a flying shuttle that tore through the air and flew forward. Roar! At that moment, a dragon's roar could be heard coming from the front. It was even transmitted through the shuttle. A dragon's cry. Such an imperious dragon's cry. but it doesn't sound like it's coming from a real dragon. Xuanixin said with a serious expression, "It's not coming from a real dragon." Tian Shui and Lu Ming raised their eyebrows. They knew that some real dragons would also let out a dragon's cry after they died. For example, they could also let out a dragon's cry after awakening their true dragon bloodline and condensing the true dragon war body. Ordinary people would not be able to tell the difference. But Xuanixin was a real dragon, so it was not surprising that she could tell. Could it be a cave abode left behind by a real dragon after it died? The three of them guessed as they continued to control the flying shuttle. After a while, they finally flew out of the murderous aura. A huge lake appeared in front of them. At a glance, it was like a vast ocean, and there was no end to it. Moreover, there was no murderous aura here. So many people. Through the crystal glass, they looked outside and saw many figures above the lake. Some of them were flying above the lake, as if they were looking for something. It seemed that many people had received the news. Some of them were very young and were very likely the prodigies of the top sections. The three of them got out of the flying shuttle. The flying shuttle shrank and was put away by Tian Shui. They looked around and saw more than 100 people. Some of them glanced at them and ignored them. "There doesn't seem to be anything here," Tian Shui said. The three of them flew above the lake and looked at the calm lake. There seemed to be nothing there. Boom! Someone attacked the lake, causing thousands of waves. Splash! Suddenly, a huge pincer reached out from the waves and clamped down on that person. That person screamed in pain as his body was clamped in half. Blood splattered on the lake, dyeing the lake red. Chapter 1508. Whoosh! Suddenly, a silver ray flew out from the other side of the lake and penetrated a human cultivator, causing his blood to splatter everywhere. Everyone saw that it was a silver swordfish. It was as long as a silver divine sword. After killing a cultivator, the swordfish dove into the lake and disappeared. H! H! Meanwhile, a few cries of agony could be heard as a few beasts dashed out from the lake and killed a few more cultivators. Crap! Many people were startled. Previously, the lake had been calm. Thus they thought there were no living creatures under the lake. They did not expect so many beasts to attack them all of a sudden. Whoosh! The surface of the lake churned. This time, countless demonic beasts rushed out from the lake and attacked the crowd. Some of them were not strong, but some were extremely terrifying. Kill these beasts! Someone uttered a roar and attacked the beasts in the water. A chaotic battle instantly broke out. The beasts in the water were being killed continuously. None of the human cultivators were weak. A few of them had been killed due to their carelessness. Now that they were fighting back, a large number of beasts in the water were slain. Human cultivators, get the hell out of here! A giant octopus flew into the sky and uttered a thunderous roar. 8 giant tentacles danced in the air and wrapped around a 7th-layer Martial Dominator Realm expert. The 7th-layer Martial Dominator Realm expert was killed by the impact. Following this, it swung its tentacles and killed 2 6th-layer Martial Dominator Realm cultivators. Strong! This octopus was a 9th-layer Martial Dominator Realm cultivator. Son of a bitch, I'll slay you! An old voice could be heard as an old man approached the octopus and attacked it. The two began to fight fiercely. Lu Ming, Tian Shui, and Xuanixin were attacked too. A group of lobsters charged toward them. These lobsters were covered in armor, which was impenetrable by swords and spears. The one leading the group was a 7th-layer Martial Dominator Realm cultivator. Puff! Lu Ming's spear penetrated a 5th-layer Martial Dominator Realm lobster. How tough! Lu Ming had a feeling that the defense of the 5th-layer Martial Emperor Realm lobster was even stronger than that of many 6th-layer Martial Emperor Realm human cultivators. There are actually so many powerful, demonic beasts in this lake. Not simple. Lu Ming pondered. Demonic beasts, as their cultivation level increased, would generally be divided into 2 types. The other was to take human form and form a force. They might even join a human sect to comprehend the great Tao of heaven and earth and cultivate the laws of heaven and earth. Their path of cultivation was very similar to that of humans, and they were known as demonic cultivators. As for the other type, they didn't take human form and instead remained in their beast form. They lived in the depths of the mountains and lakes and continued to cultivate according to their beastly nature. They developed their beastly body and retained their beastly nature. These types of beasts were generally known as savage beasts and savage beasts. Such savage beasts would be even more ferocious, and their battle prowess would be astounding. Obviously, the demonic beasts in the lake belonged to the category of ferocious beasts. The battle between the two sides was fierce. However, the human tribe had more experts. There were even some LV8 and LV9 martial Royal Realm experts. They were all experts from the small forces near the Shillong Lake. Gradually, the human tribe gained the upper hand. The demonic beasts were killed one after another, and the surface of the lake was dyed red with blood. Hiss, hiss! Suddenly, the surface of the lake became turbulent as a giant black shadow sprang out from the water and swallowed an LV8 martial Royal Realm expert. It was a pitch-black giant snake over 1,000 meters long. Its aura was extremely ferocious and terrifying. Swallowing an LV8 martial Royal Realm expert in one bite was too shocking. Crap, a peak martial Royal Realm, half-saint firmament water snake. Someone yelled in terror. Lu Ming and the others were astounded too. A peak martial Royal Realm expert was also known as a half-saint. They were only one step away from entering the sacred realm and were extremely powerful. There was such a terrifying giant snake here. However, there was an even more shocking scene. Another firmament water snake appeared on the other side of the lake. Its aura was not weaker than the previous one. With a swing of its tail, it sent a LV9 martial Royal Realm expert flying, causing him to vomit blood. 2 firmament water snakes. There were 2 such terrifying firmament water snakes in the Shillong Lake. Outsiders, get out of here. Otherwise, I'll kill you all. One of the firmament water snakes roared and soared into the sky like a real dragon. Its huge body rolled up and charged toward a LV9 martial Royal Realm expert. The LV9 martial Royal Realm expert was shocked. A LV9 martial Royal Realm expert was basically at the peak of the martial Royal Realm. However, compared to a half-saint, he was still far from it. Bang! The LV9 martial Royal Realm expert was sent flying. He vomited blood and his face turned pale. If you don't leave, I'll kill you all. The other firmament water snake said coldly, How arrogant! Let's see who you can kill. At this moment, a cold voice came from the sky. Then a milky white holy light fell from the sky and blasted toward one of the firmament water snakes. Hiss, hiss! The firmament water snake opened its mouth and spat out a black stream of water toward the milky white holy light. However, the stream of water was penetrated by the holy light as soon as it came into contact with the holy light. The holy light fell on the firmament water snake. The firmament water snake screamed as its scales fell off and blood flowed out. So powerful! The crowd was shocked. The firmament water snake, which had reached the half-saint realm, was injured by a saint realm expert? Buzz! A strong pressure came down from the sky. The crowd looked up and saw a young man in a white robe. Even his shoes were white. He walked in the air step by step, emitting a milky white holy light. He looked like a deity, the divine son of the divine sect. Xuan Ningxin exclaimed when she saw him. Her pupils shrank. What? He is the divine son. Tian Chue also exclaimed. Then, a strong desire to fight appeared in his eyes. The divine son of the divine sect had a holy virgin and a holy son. However, there was only one person called the divine son. He was one of the top 10 geniuses of the Tsangzhou continent and the top genius of the divine sect. The divine son walked in the air. His powerful aura locked on to the firmament water snake. He looked up and said, "Wang Jian, since you're here, why don't you attack?" "Ha ha ha, I wanted to watch the show. Since you're here, leave the other firmament water snake to me." A sword light flashed in the air. A young man with a long sword on his back appeared in the air. Wang Jian, the peerless genius of the Nine Heaven Sword sect and one of the top 10 geniuses of the Tsangzhou continent. Someone exclaimed. 2 of the top 10 geniuses of the Tsangzhou continent had come. "Go away! Who are you? Go away!" A firmament water snake roared and charged at Wang Jian. "Divine Son, let's see who can kill the firmament water snake faster. What do you think?" Wang Jian said with a smile. He pointed his finger like a sword and slashed out. A shocking sword light slashed at the firmament water snake. A deep sword mark was left on the dark underworld water snake's body. "That's exactly what I want. Wang Jian, I haven't seen you in 3 years. Let's see if you've improved." Chapter 1509. The 2 firmament water snakes were divided between the deity and Wang Jian, one for each of them. The 2 sides engaged in a fierce battle. The sword light was shocking, and the holy light filled the air. The 2 Songming water snakes were no match for them. So powerful. Is this the combat strength of the top 10 monsters of the Tsangzhou state? Lu Ming said in a low voice. The deity and Wang Jian had not reached the saint realm, but their combat strength was shocking. The 2 half-saint Songming water snakes were no match for them. "Kill!" After a few moves, Wang Jian yelled. The long sword on his back was unsheathed, and a terrifying sword light cut through the void. Puchi! Blood splattered everywhere. The Songming water snake's head was directly cut off by the sword light. Its huge body fell to the surface of the lake, and there was no sign of life. On the other side, the holy light on the deity's body condensed into a divine blade and directly cut the Songming water snake in half. The 2 of them killed 2 Songming water snakes at the same time. Many people gasped when they saw this. They were too powerful. The half-saint Songming water snakes were no match for them at all. They were killed in just a few moves. Can one kill a saint without reaching the saint realm? Someone whispered. Impossible. The saint realm is too strong. It is a legend to kill a saint without reaching the saint realm. Although the top 10 monsters are strong, they are no match for a saint realm expert. Someone analyzed in a low voice. Deity, it seems that it is a draw. Wang Jian looked at the deity, and his eyes were full of fighting spirit. These 2 Songming water snakes are too weak. There is no point in competing. The deity said casually, "Deity, I will defeat you in this treasure sorting convention." In Wang Jian's eyes, light burst forth like 2 divine swords. 3 years ago, you were no match for me. Now, you are even less of a match for me. The deity said faintly with his hands behind his back. He was full of confidence. "Humph, we will know who is the winner. Now let's take care of these demonic beasts." Wang Jian snorted coldly. His combat sword cut through the void, and beams of sword light fell down, killing the demonic beasts one by one. The divine child smiled indifferently and stepped out into the air. Holy light burst forth, killing the demonic beasts one after another. With the king's sword and the god's son taking action, it was a complete suppression. A large number of demonic beasts were harvested, and there was no room for others to intervene. The top 10 monstrous geniuses are the main force in every treasure ranking meeting. I went to see them once 3 years ago. Their battle prowess was extremely shocking. Now that another 3 years have passed, the battle prowess of the top 10 monstrous geniuses must be even more terrifying. Xuanixin said in a low voice. Lu Ming nodded his head. No wonder they were not allowed to participate in the treasure pedestal. Those below the 7th layer martial dominator realm were not qualified to participate in the trial. Lu Ming and his crew were too weak facing such a genius. They did not even have the chance to fight against him, as they would be defeated instantly. However, Lu Ming wasn't discouraged. These people were in Yuan continent, and the cultivation environment was too good. In addition to their shocking talents, their cultivation was naturally high. However, Lu Ming was confident that in a few years he would definitely be able to catch up with these people, compete with them, and even surpass them. Can I participate in the next 3 years? Lu Ming was looking forward to it. There were 2 treasures in the treasure ranking meeting, and one of them was the fragment of the prison-suppressing monument. If he could help Dragon God Valley win first place and get the right to research the 2 treasures for 3 years, would he be able to get the fragment of the prison-suppressing monument? Many thoughts flashed through Lu Ming's mind. Blood splattered everywhere as a large number of demonic beasts were killed. Soon, almost all the demonic beasts in the Shillong Lake were slaughtered. Some of the weaker ones were so scared that they hid in the lake. The surface of the lake quieted down. Roar! At that moment, an earth-shattering dragon roar came from under the lake. However, after the dragon roar, the surface of the lake remained calm, and nothing else happened. There must be something unusual at the bottom of the lake. Otherwise, how could there be 2 sage-level firmament water snakes in such a small lake? Wang Jian's eyes were like 2 divine swords as he stared at the surface of the lake, as if they were going to pierce through it. Let's just break it open and we'll know. The deity was extremely domineering. His body was bathed in holy light, as if he was the son of a god. He took a step forward and the world shook. Then he stretched out a hand and clenched his fist downward. A powerful suction force burst out. The lake water below formed a funnel and was sucked up. Then the deity pressed his palm down. Boom! The lake water rushed downward again. The surface of the lake shook, and the center of the lake water that was pressed down was immediately pushed away. The lake water surged in all directions, and an area without water appeared there. Slash! The deity whispered. A ray of holy light flew out and slashed at the bottom of the lake like a heavenly blade. Rumble! The bottom of the lake was directly split open, and a huge crack appeared. However, the bottom of the lake was empty. There was nothing at all. The deity frowned. Whoosh! Below, the lake water surged, stirring up stormy waves. Roar! At that moment, another dragon roar was heard. There! Wang Jian looked around and took a step forward. He appeared dozens of miles away, and a shocking sword light bloomed from his hand and slashed at the lake. Whoosh! A sword mark that was 100 miles long appeared on the surface of the lake. The lake water was split open, and a deep crack appeared at the bottom of the lake. Roar! A shocking dragon roar came from the crack. Following that, the shadow of a dragon rushed out of the crack. It was not a real dragon, but a shadow. After rushing into the sky, it automatically dissipated. Rumble! Following that, a violent rumble came from the bottom of the lake, and strands of golden light spread out. There's something at the bottom of the lake. Many people's eyes lit up. The lake water boiled and rolled continuously. The bottom of the lake shook as if something huge was trying to break free from the bottom of the lake. In that area, the ground cracked open and endless lake water poured in. Rumbling sounds rang out continuously, and following that a huge object appeared. It was a huge palace that shone with golden light. The walls and pillars were carved with lifelike dragons. Dragon Palace. It's a dragon palace. Someone exclaimed. Legend has it that a powerful dragon lived in the Shillong Lake in ancient times. It's true. This dragon palace is so majestic. The true dragon that lives here must be a Saint Realm true dragon. Many people's eyes lit up. There was a legend in the distant past. Many years had passed since then, and even if there was a Saint Realm dragon, it would have fallen. Then, after the dragon fell, would it be in the dragon palace? How many treasures would there be in the dragon palace? No wonder there were so many powerful underwater monsters in the lake. There was a dragon palace under the lake. The ground collapsed, and the lake water swept away. Soon, the entire dragon palace appeared in front of everyone. In front of the Dragon Palace was a wide passage that led to the gate of the Dragon Palace. The gate was tightly shut. Chapter 1510. Whoosh! Suddenly, a figure dashed toward the entrance of the Dragon Palace. However, when he reached the passage in front of the entrance, the dragon statues on both sides of the passage let out dragon cries and emitted brilliant light. Then the illusionary figures of the dragons charged toward the figure. The figure was a middle-aged man with a cultivation of the fourth-layer martial royal realm. He was shocked and tried his best to defend himself. However, in the next moment, his defense was torn apart by the illusionary figures of the dragons, and his body was torn into pieces. A fourth-layer martial royal realm cultivator was killed in an instant. Some people gasped. It seemed that the Dragon Palace was not that easy to enter. The illusionary figures of the dragons are so powerful. They seem to be at the seventh-layer martial royal realm. That's right. It seems that those below the seventh-layer martial royal realm can't enter at all. Some people discussed. Let me have a try. An old man stepped forward and dashed toward the entrance of the Dragon Palace. Similarly, when he reached the passage, the illusionary figures of the dragons pounced on him. The old man unleashed his strength and continuously threw out palm strikes to collide with the illusionary figures of the dragons. The illusionary figures of the dragons were knocked away. The old man continued to move forward and soon arrived at the entrance of the Dragon Palace. Seeing this, more people flew toward the entrance of the Dragon Palace. However, most of them were above the seventh-layer martial royal realm. They charged toward the entrance with all their might. The Divine Sun and Wang Jian also made their moves. The illusionary figures of the dragons did not obstruct them at all. Break the entrance. The Divine Sun stepped forward and threw a punch at the entrance of the Dragon Palace. Boom! The entrance of the Dragon Palace trembled violently as if it were about to be shattered. Guys, what are you waiting for? The Divine Sun said. All right, let's do it together. The others also made their moves. There were about 20 of them in total, and all sorts of rainbow-colored light slammed into the door. The door rumbled, and in the end, it was unable to withstand the pressure and exploded. Let's go. Whoosh, whoosh. As soon as the entrance of the Dragon Palace was opened, the 20 people rushed into the Dragon Palace and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Senior brother, senior sister, do you want to try? Lu Ming looked at Tian Chui and Xuaningxin. Since we're here, let's try, Tian Chui said. Xuaningxin nodded. All right, let's go together, Lu Ming said. Immediately, the three of them flew toward the gate of Dragon Palace. Many people looked at them in surprise. How bold of them! 2 fifth-layer martial dominators and 1 third-layer martial dominator dare to challenge the Dragon Palace. How bold! Young man, newborn calves are not afraid of tigers. Someone said disdainfully. Lu Ming and the other 2 pretended not to hear anything. Just as they were about to reach the door, numerous illusory, true dragons pounced on them. Scram! Tian Chui roared, and the huge hammer smashed forward. Bang! A true dragon phantom was sent flying. Xuaningxin punched out and knocked away a true dragon shadow. Lu Ming held the long spear in his hand and swept it across, hitting one of them. Instantly, 10 types of power erupted from the long spear, sending the illusory figure of the real dragon flying. What? The true dragon's phantom was sent flying. Even that third-layer martial dominator was able to knock the illusionary dragon away. How is this possible? Those below the 7th-layer martial dominator realm exclaimed in disbelief. Roar! 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 There were sounds of dragon roars and more illusory shadows of true dragons pounced on Lu Ming and the other 2. The 3 of them stood in a triangle, each in charge of one side, and continued to attack. Bang! 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 One after another, the true dragon phantoms were sent flying by them. Their formation was like a sharp knife as they charged towards the door. Soon, they broke through the obstruction of the true dragon phantoms and successfully reached the door. The illusionary true dragons must have weakened. Yes, after being attacked by so many people, the illusionary true dragons must have weakened. Otherwise, a third-layer martial dominator realm cultivator would not have been able to break through. This is our chance. Whoosh! Whoosh! Immediately, a few people charged toward the gate of the dragon palace. Dragon cries could be heard as the illusionary true dragons pounced on them. Piss off! An old man with a cultivation of the sixth-layer martial dominator realm threw out a punch in an attempt to knock the illusionary true dragons away. However, when his fist collided with the illusionary true dragons, his face turned pale as his bones were broken. He spat out mouthfuls of blood as his body was sent flying. Behind him, an illusionary true dragon flew past and tore him in half. Ah! Ah! At the same time, a few cries of agony could be heard as the others were killed on the spot by the illusionary true dragons. The remaining people were astounded. Some of the people who were about to charge forward halted in their tracks as their bodies were covered in cold sweat. They were secretly relieved that they had reacted too slowly. The power of the illusionary true dragons did not weaken at all. Its strength was exactly the same as before. Those three young men were able to break through. Many people glanced at Lu Ming and the others in astonishment. They understood that the three of them were monstrous geniuses, and their battle prowess could not be judged by common sense. Meanwhile, Lu Ming and the others had charged through the gate of the Dragon Palace. Inside the gate was a spacious hall with two entrances on both sides at the back. Which one? Tian Chui asked. Either one is fine. Let's go to the right, Lu Ming said. Tian Chui and Xuaningxi nodded. The three of them rushed through the door on the right and found that it was a passageway. After walking through the passageway, they found several long corridors with rooms on each side. When the three of them entered the rooms, they discovered that the rooms were completely empty. There was nothing inside. We're late. Everything has been taken away, Tian Chui said, because they could see that there were traces on the ground. There should have been things placed there before, but they were all taken away now. They should have been taken away by those who came in before them. Even the tables, chairs, flower trays, and the like have been taken away. Lu Ming was a little speechless. Legend has it that the true dragons love to collect all kinds of treasures and precious materials. Some of the ordinary furniture is made of precious materials. Tian Chui muttered and glanced at Xuaningxi. What? You don't like it? Xuaningxi glared at Tian Chui. Tian Chui smiled foolishly. The three of them continued to move forward. When they passed by a room, they saw an old man inside wantonly collecting things. The tables, chairs, candlesticks, flower trays, and the like were all taken away. Nestle, that flower pot is made of jade essence stone. Jade essence stone can be used to refine Emperor's spiritual weapons. Also, that table is made of dragon tooth jade. That's a material for refining saint weapons. Tian Chui's eyes widened as he exclaimed. The old man moved very quickly. With a wave of his hand, the entire room was emptied. Sure enough, the true dragons loved to collect treasures. Those ordinary tools were all precious refining materials. It would be strange if they were not emptied. The old man glanced at them and was a little surprised, but he ignored the three of them and rushed to the other side in a flash. Let's hurry up too, or we won't even have soup to drink,